They'll love to possess the ball as well in the middle of the park. So two similar teams, similar formations, 3-5-2, and I think what you'll see is a testimony of Will's here to see who sticks into that longer and who has patience across the match today.
Moving into the 4th minute, we have our first collision and a whistle. Gives us a chance to introduce our head referee, Tim Kirk. And Tim Kirk, Dave, is a guy that you are familiar with. He worked a few games.
Yeah, we had him in a postseason match 2 years ago in a regional final, and I thought he handled the game really, really well. So he's a good selection for this match, which if we look at history like a Cerritos and the way that they tend to play relatively physical and emotional, then I think he'll handle that pretty well in today's semifinal with a lot at stake.
You know, Taft is an interesting case this season. This is a team that started out 4-4-1 on the season, and since then has gone unbeaten all the way here to the Final Four.
A young group, there are a lot of freshmen, which is not always the most common thing we'd see in the Final Four, but I think it takes a while to get a young group together to play a new system, to get on the same page, and you've seen them do that over the last 2.5 months of the season.
And the Cougars on the attack, and that one broken up. As the Falcons regain. The Falcons come in here. You know, obviously I think it's hard to assess a huge favorite in a situation like this. Obviously it's going to come down to 1 or 2 big plays, as it always does. But the Falcons, the #1 team in the power rankings this season, and the numbers are pretty gaudy. They're among the leading scoring teams on the season, and they're also the top defensive team statistically, with just 10 goals allowed on the season. And that's in a very tough South Coast Conference as well in the South, that also has Mount San Antonio College, who also is in the semifinals.
Right, and you know they're well tested, and you know there we go right there. I think we have our first yellow card of the game.
Yeah, it'll go on Esteban Camacho.
On the 5th minute, that is, they're going to do that. If Taft dispossesses them and they can get running at them, they're going to do what we'll call the professional foul in the game, and they're going to slow the pace of the game by doing it that way and disrupt it a little bit. So it's going to be important that Taft kind of keeps their composure and doesn't retaliate.
Well, while we're on the case of you know, gaudy numbers for the Falcons, they're also among the very top in yellow cards on the season as well. So,
and you saw just why right there. But they are, you know, they're ranked power ranking #1 in the state, and they're ranked #1 in the country right now in the United Soccer Coaches poll. So there's no surprise that they're here.
And these two teams did meet earlier this season, back on September 19th, and Cerritos winning that one 1-0. And it was Luis Garcia who had the goal in that game in the 71st minute. But you'd have to expect that, you know, this will be a similar type of dynamic between these two teams. Not a lot of mistakes. But the one other question I asked is, from a coaching standpoint, what do the two coaches, or what might the two coaches take away from a first matchup that will impact what they do in a second matchup?
I think when they come back out, they're going to – I don't think either of these teams are going to change formations or change the way that they play, but what they're going to look for is what we refer to as soft spots in the other team's defense. How are we to attack them? Are there certain spots on the field or certain players that we have better matchups? Or we put players in certain positions on the field that we can create better matchups for ourselves, so you might see that.
They try to enter it into the box, and this one cleared away to the near side. Magana, the leading scorer for Taft, loses it over the end line. And this will be the first corner kick today, and a chance for Taft to potentially set something up. And the corner kick will come from Felix, Manuel Felix. Felix enters it in, cleared, but not entirely out, back into the box. A one-timer sent back out. And Taft will reset. Trying to switch the attack to the far side. The entry pass, but the header off the mark. Alexander Cabrera tried to redirect.
And Jeff, and I think we're going to see a game like this with periods of possession. Taft will hold the ball for a while. They're going to want to possess it and probe for opportunities, and Cerritos will do the same. So I think we're going to see periods of teams holding possession as opposed to it just being a back-and-forth game early on anyway.
Yeah, Luis Garcia is an interesting case in that not only is he the leading scorer for Cerritos, but by all accounts appears to be kind of the quarterback of this team as well. So you have the sense for Cerritos they'll really have to redirect in a lot of areas.
Look for different leadership. He's a second-year player with a lot of accolades. But I think with their experience and the way they feel about themselves and the way that they've played this year, I believe that they're 100% confident that they can play without him. And then the reality is they're thinking, hey, we get him back for Sunday, and he's 100%, and he doesn't have 90 minutes in his legs come Sunday.
It could potentially be an advantage moving forward, and maybe not the way you want to get it. Well, obviously the Falcons have a lot of championship pedigree here. They are seeking their fourth championship here in the 3C2A under head coach Benny Arriaga. One of those victories did come over Taft back in 2006. So two of the regular contenders at the top in 3C2A soccer.
And I think what we see in the Final Four here with the teams here in front of us, Taft and Cerritos, and then Fresno City and Mount Sac in the game this afternoon. There's no surprises in those teams that are here. They've all been here before, and they all are confident they could walk away Sunday with a championship.
A chance developing for the Falcons, but the centering pass from Calderon is knocked out of play, and now it's the Falcons who will have a corner kick.
And pretty typically, when we've seen it from Taft already, and I think we'll see it from Cerritos, when we get into corner kick situations or they get into possession and they get into the final third, they're going to attack with 8 players and leave 2 to defend. And you know that's sort of the systems that both teams tend to play, and we'll see how that materializes.
Low kick, redirected in front of the goal mouth and in. Initially redirected, and it looked like Carlos Payeras who eventually got the finish.
He unhinged himself at the back post, and no one picked that up. Taft had a player there zonally in the back, and he missed it, comes through the back post, and a little deflection and goes in. And we're in the 11th minute, Cerritos 1-0. Without their leading goal scorer, who's sitting on the bench with accumulation of cards, 2 yellow cards in the last match, and now the game's going to change a little bit. I think you'll see Taft being similar. They're not going to change a lot because they've had opportunities going forward, but as the game goes on, they're going to have to open things up a little bit if they don't get that one back early.
Yeah, they went 90 minutes, obviously, in the first meeting between these two teams, and unable to come up with a goal. And you are quick to point out here, I think, in the 11th minute that obviously there's a lot of time, but in this particular format against this team, it's also getting late early.
And Cerritos will be disciplined, and they're gonna tackle physically, and they're gonna put a lot of pressure on the ball. So Cerritos probably pretty confident right now that they can defend their one goal, or they're gonna get a couple more as Taft starts to press a little bit.
Cabrera trying to weave his way through traffic and has that one poked away.
Jeff, and I think the thing you're going to see from these teams that are all in the Final Four, none of them are used to playing from behind very often. And, they're always used to a lead or a 1-goal lead or holding on to leads. So that will be interesting to see how that materializes as well.
They tried to fan it out to Cabrera and again broken up. Well, yeah, talk about Taft. They had a struggle in their opening round, a 3-2 victory over number 14 seed Lassen, but then victories over Skyline and Hartnell 3-0, 1-0. So, yeah, it's been a while since they've trailed, and obviously we talked about at the top, 4-4-1 to start the season, and since then, unbeaten. So this is somewhat unfamiliar territory. And
they've had good competition. Lassen's a little bit of a sleeper. They had a very good second half to the year in their conference, beat some good teams. Lassen, like Taft, struggled early in the year, and they needed to win their conference to get in. So that was actually not an easy draw, as we saw by Lassen going down and taking
one of
it
those
to Taft a little bit.
Sleeper types that you really don't want to see in the postseason. Blocked up front and cleared by Carvin. Loose ball regained. Cougars had it back momentarily. Felix going to send it back. Too much on that pass and a possible break the other way for the Falcons. Pieris, who had the goal, sends it back out. Carvin battling but lost it momentarily. One-timer sent on goal and a sliding stop by Garcia.
Good quick feet by the goalkeeper there. Ball coming in off the pitch is still a little bit wet from the fog and the dew this morning, so it got to him a little bit quicker than he might have realized it was going to.
I think he realized about halfway through there that was going to be a little tougher save than maybe he thought at first. Well, so far it looks like Taft is trying to employ a little more switching of the attack, maybe some longer entry passes.
And I think that's the way at some point, and you'll see it this afternoon when Fresno plays Mount Sac, you might have to attack their back three like that, the spaces that are available or to the outside of the flanks and to the right and to the left of their back three. And I think those spaces were there. The ball that just got mishit was played on the ground. If he plays out over the top a little bit and then they can get numbers forward, Taft's going to have better opportunities.
Falcons, for their part, we talked about the victory in the previous round over Golden West. That went to penalty kicks. Cerritos winning that one 3-2 on kicks after a scoreless 120 minutes. But before that, Cerritos dispatched number 9 Santa Monica 2-1 after achieving a bye in the opening round in the SoCal playoffs leading up to the Final Four.
And what you see now, Cerritos possesses the ball out of the back. They have a little bit more freedom to not have to rush or to hurry, and Taft has had to step and press a little higher, which opens up seams in the game, and now you see Cerritos getting forward pretty quickly.
Was that an offsides bringing it back?
Yep.
So the offsides to Cerritos, that's why it's so great to have you here, Dave. I can check my calls.
It was either offsides or it was just off the end line, one of the two.
It was hard to tell, wasn't it?
Into the 16th minute. Cerritos with the early lead. To the outside, Calderon. Centering pass, partially tipped. And back to Taft. And I'll say this is off of Cerritos, so Taft will keep it on the throw-in. For Taft, Brandon Garcia, the starting goal. Gilbert Cervantes, Miguel Coronado, Roland Gonzalo, Manuel Felix, Clayton Torr, Hugo Magana, Marcos Marino, Alan Perez, and Alexander Cabrera and Christian Cabrera round out the starting lineup.
And you mentioned Magana, he's their top goal scorer, and he hasn't seen much of the ball today so far. So in the 17th minute right now, whether that's just hasn't been a product of the game or whether Cerritos has paid special attention to that.
What do you expect to see from the Falcons in terms of how they will go about marking a guy like Magana?
I think Cerritos is a team where they feel they probably have a number of players that can take care of that. And what you'll see is they'll just be aware of him more than they'll worry about double teaming him, putting a particular player on him. So that's what it appears to be right now, that they feel confident as a team, disciplined, compact enough, and just be aware of him and know when he's on the ball.
Loose ball won by Cerritos. Lira able to get it back to the center line. Pass off the line, and Garcia will come all the way out for Taft. 18th minute. Garcia airs it out. And a whistle giving it back to Taft.
and we're seeing our referee's been directly on top of some of these falls. He's been in very, very good position in the match today, and it's hard to argue with any of the calls that he's made. And there's a good one, elbow in the back from the Cerritos player, or in the back of the head, and another Taft set piece just inside the midfield stripe.
And again, a long entry pass into the box, and just cleared away and finished off by Payeras. Check that was Felix clearing it out. Over to Tor. Ponce able to clear that one out. Back to midfield. Pass gets away. Becerras in from the left. Just outside the box. Fans it out. Calderon tried to feed it back in, but it's broken up.
And we've seen Calderon so far with his pace is going to be a dangerous player that's going to be difficult for Taft. He's not only in the attack, but he's also defensively put some pressure on some players, and Taft's going to have to deal with that for the rest of the match today.
Yeah, the Falcons seem to have no shortage of speed. And you watch a guy like Calderon, and obviously he's had an opportunity or two early, able to get a little bit of separation. This is a guy that, at least according to the stats, has 1 goal on the season. You wonder if maybe that's not complete statistics that we have, but
he may be the player that they've put on in place of Garcia and move some players around, so that might be the situation that we're looking at.
Yeah, it ends up getting more looks.
And in the world of coaching, the one thing that we always say, you can't coach speed.
Yeah.
You have it or you don't.
Funny how that's in many sports. We run across that. But perhaps nowhere is it more true than here. Heading toward the 21st minute. A goal from Payeras, and now an opportunity developing, and that one just wide. Luis Lira.
He had a little bit more time on the ball. I'd like to see him take another little touch there and create a better angle, turn his hips a little bit, get that on frame. I think Cerritos is getting some looks right now every time that they get forward, where Taft, when they get forward, Cerritos has got more numbers behind the ball, and they're challenging it.
Lira able to clear that one back away. Canella battling and contains. And this call going to go against Canella. And what was the call?
I didn't quite see that either from our angle here and some of our obstruction of view, but I didn't really see what had happened there.
Down in a little bit of a blind spot. Carvin coming over the top there and draws a whistle.
And I think that's what we're going to see today. Cerritos being aggressive, being physical, and they're going to accumulate a lot of fouls. But in that process, and I said it earlier, they're going to disrupt Taft's tempo a bit.
Gonzalo will just keep it short as Cervantes sends it forward, but Carvin able to fan it outside, and Calderon with it at midfield. A pass blocked at the point of attack. Kept alive by Canella, but back to Garcia. And Canella comes up limping a little bit. Chance developing here for Taft, but knocked away. Cabrera battling against Payeras, and Payeras able to win it and get it back to Aldama.
Cerritos has done a terrific job of putting more numbers around the ball. And when the ball gets isolated 1v1, they drop another player on it and try and double team it. You saw it in that situation right there. So good cover from the Cerritos back line and wide midfielders.
Trying to track this one down, and does. Marked by Cervantes. And it'll go back to Taft. And what does that leave for Taft? What is incumbent on Taft then if that's the strategy and you're bringing guys to the ball aggressively like that? What's the counter?
I think the thing is you have to play quick. When you see the second guy come in, there's going to have to be someone from Taft that unhinges himself and either gets himself forward or gets himself in a seam or finds an angle that it makes it obvious or easier for the player on the ball to distribute it. And that's going to be really important.
Slide tackle, and here comes the whistle. That's going to go against Gonzalo.
I think our referee today knows the history here. He's really, really smart. When we had him 2 years ago, before the game, he came straight to us and he said, I understand the history of who's got cards, who doesn't have cards, the history of the opponent that we're playing, and he called the game like that from the beginning. And I think we see that today, and I think it's going to make for a good, fair match. Physical, but fair.
Yeah. Well, is he trying to? Do you have the sense that Tim Kirk is trying to tone down the physicality here, or just define it?
I think he's just trying to define it, and he just straight away, and we saw it early with a yellow card, he's just, this is what I'm going to allow, and this is what I'm not going to allow, and I think he's done a terrific job so far in the 24th minute.
Perez hooks this one in, and Garcia right there. So Garcia with another save. Here in the 24th minute. Tor giving chase, and a whistle comes in, and it'll go back to Cerritos.
I don't know, that as a coach, that foul drives me crazy. You've got their Taft has Cerritos facing their own end line, follows them in the back, and it makes it easy to get out instead of just putting pressure on it. Let the rest of the Taft players come up, and maybe we hold them in their end there. But instead of you give them a foul and give them a free pass.
Yeah, it's one of those where you work hard to get to a certain place, and then you just give that all right back.
And Cerritos so far, I believe I said it before, Cerritos has done a good job when they've been counter-attacked by Taft to put numbers behind the ball.
And this is going to be a handball, I believe. And back to Cerritos. That one hopped up on Coronado. Caught him on the arm, and now Carvin will set things up for the Falcons out to Canella. Excuse me, Ponce. Aldama well out. Gets a toe into this one. Carvin battling, keeps it alive, but Coronado clears. Long pass, just out of the reach. Coronado trying to pitch that one forward, and nobody home. And here comes another whistle. A little spirited play after the whistle there. I thought
I saw that.
Dave a little bit of kicking after the whistle, but no further call.
I'm sure he had a little word for him, but I'm surprised it couldn't have been a little bit more than that.
Long lead pass, cleared away, and Aldama will pounce on it. An early goal from Payeras, the difference so far. And here a little bit of what you're talking about. Now it looks to me, Dave, like you're starting to see a little more urgency and pressing in the backfield.
Yeah, Taft has decided to step high and press them to not make it easy to get out of the back.
And you wonder at what point does that become perhaps a dangerous strategy against a team with the kind of speed that Cerritos has, but maybe that's what they have to do. Meanwhile, giving chase, it's Gonzalo.
What we find sometimes, and Cerritos likes to do the same thing. They like to press high. Sometimes teams that press high don't like to be pressed back.
Contact, and here comes a call. And it'll be a free kick for the Falcons.
As you said, the spiritedness of it is starting to pick up a little bit.
Canella battling, kicks it back out, and Falcons maintain possession here in the 27th minute. Good battle between Calderon and Tor on the far side. Falcons still with it. Left footer, sensational goal.
I think it just went past. No, it just went past.
Offsides. All right, that's the call. It was Perez
It looked like he hit the frame, but it actually went and hit the back fence and came into the back of the goal.
Oh, okay.
It was well hit. Good combination play in the middle.
Yeah,
middle
Perez
third.
almost with the completion, but offsides nullifies it anyway.
And Calderon there at the beginning of that got the ball into the attack again. So Calderon for Cerritos, again, dangerous with his speed.
Yeah, and it's as we've been talking about, that was really set up ultimately by Calderon. Rush developing now for Taft on the other side. In from the left, blocked at the point and cleared.
Well done back there by Cerritos again, but Taft starting to find that soft spot on the outside. Try to get in behind Cerritos a little bit. So out of the run of the play, Taft finally get a good opportunity.
Their best rush is Cervantes. Tries to switch it to the far side, but it's cleared away. Calderon giving chase. Great slide from Tor, but can't clear it away entirely. Falcons maintaining. Outside to Ponce. Becerra fans it out to Lira. Now the Falcons will set up in the offensive zone. Becerra, terrific lead. Great stop by Garcia. Denying Canella.
Garcia read that really well. Good starting position. As that ball got played in, an immediate commitment to it, comes out, makes himself big. Terrific save by Garcia.
That is no less than a game saver, I think, Dave. From Garcia, you fall down 2-0 here in the first half, and it's going to be a long way back.
Oh, it's going to be a big struggle because now Cerritos can just hold the ball. They don't have to press, and they can keep it in possession. So if Cerritos got another one.
One-timer is wide. That's Perez, and Perez has already shown that kind of range from outside the box as he got into one with the left foot that narrowly missed just a minute ago. We're in the 30th minute.
What do you think if I do reserves while we're warming up and just get started? Is that okay? I like introducing everybody, at least the first time.
Garcia pop flies to midfield. And the loose ball won by Cerritos. Back to Aldama. They'll try to set things up. Here is Lira. Becerra, also one of the leading point scorers for the Falcons on the season. And that one rainbowed into the Taft box. Easy play for Garcia. Well, what is the impact sometimes that can come from a great save, like we just saw from Garcia? Is it a little bit similar sometimes to a big-time block in basketball or something like that, where it can kind of fire a team up a little bit?
Yeah, and it can go both ways, so Taft can be excited that they know they've got a good goalkeeper behind there that's helped keep them in the match.
Perez looking for the center. It's fanned back outside, and Becerra back to corral it.
And you can also see the opposite from Cerritos, where if that continues to happen, they may start to get a little frustrated.
31st minute. Give and go to Tor, looking for the center, and cleared away again. Carvin corrals. Terrific pass ahead to Calderon. Tried to lead Canella. Here comes Taft. Cabrera tracks this one down into the box. Cleared, but not all the way out. The Cougars will keep it. Coronado.
It's just a suggestion.
Falcons able to poke that one away. Trying to set up a counter on the other side, but easily cleared away.
And then we're going to start to see that as Taft starts to bring numbers when in possession. Cerritos in their speed and their pace, they're going to get forward quickly.
Long lead pass and a whistle comes in. Boy, for a moment, it looked like they had Coronado on the far side.
And I think they need to keep probing that. They've done it on the right side here a couple times, gotten in behind Cerritos. They've gotten in behind him on the left side. Cerritos holding a high line with their back three. I think Taft, if they're smart, they start to step high on that, and they're going to have to get diagonal balls in behind that line.
Lira working on the near side. Tries to drop it for Canella, who returns. Lira off the back foot. Centering pass, one-timer wide of the mark. Becerra tried to dial that one up just outside the box. Cabrera over the timeline, harassed by Lira. And now Taft has to reset here in the 33rd minute.
And there's Taft trying to
Pass
force a ball in.
broken up and nearly stolen, but Calderon giving chase, and he'll win the ball. Calderon streaking in from the right, but it is cleared out of play, and this should be a corner kick.
Taft has to realize that there's still 12-plus minutes left here in the first half, plus another 45, and they're not down 2, they're not down 3, and you're starting to see just those little glimpses trying to play the perfect ball. That they don't need to panic yet. They just need to play the way they play, and they'll get in behind them, and they're going to get some opportunities.
Yeah, and again, a second meeting with this team, and they weren't able to score in the first meeting. Does it start to feel like, or do you have to really account for the fact that it starts to feel like 120 minutes that they haven't been able to score on this team, and not just 33?
And it does after a while. The frustration builds up. We'd like to think that players have short memories, but in reality, they don't.
Centered once again. And cleared away by Garcia, but not all the way out. Calderon keeps it alive to Becerra. Tried to drop it for Carvin. Taft has it, and they will just clear it out to midfield. 50-50 ball. And this one won by Cerritos. They send it back into Canella. Battling, and it's knocked out of play. Gonzalo sends that one out and allows Taft to reset.
The other thing that's nice, Jeff, is have a great facility here at American River College to be back on a grass, all-soccer facility, with no disrespect to anyone else that's hosted, but being on grass, the game is different. You're going to see a little more players going to ground a little more comfortably. The ball, especially on this surface here at American River, sits a little bit more, doesn't bounce as much, but it's a quick surface. And
so even on the turf that's meant to simulate grass, it's still going to give you a different kind of feel.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at, but some of those are still pretty hard surfaces. First bounce is really, really high. Players play a little bit different, a little bit less likely to go to ground and tackle. So the game's going to look and play a little different every time you play on grass, no matter what.
Couple of substitutions for Cerritos. Calderon will send it back out. Eric Payeras lobs it in. Loose ball. Cougars content to clear it out to midfield. Carvin trying to keep it alive. Well, there was a grab of the jersey, but no call, and now the whistle comes in.
Yeah, it's definitely a yellow.
Hugo Magana looked like he might have a potential breakaway, and a grab of the jersey, and there's the card.
And that's a close one where if that develops for another 3 to 5 seconds and he takes him down, it's probably a red card. It's a red card because it's a player free to goal, last player, clear chance on goal. But so really smart, what we call professional foul, to stop it at that moment.
Yeah, that is very close to exactly what that was, because I don't think there was anybody behind Magana or anybody in front of Magana.
I agree. And
even though he was, about 40 yards out.
And if I was in a more biased situation and I was on the sideline, I probably would have been calling for a red card.
Well, we can't blame you for that. You are a coach. So they're going to drop off here on the free kick, are the Falcons. And instead, Felix will play it short, the one-timer. And it's cleared away. And the offsides call will send it back to Cerritos.
And that's the danger of playing that first ball in. Cerritos is either going to step, and they stepped, and then they just a little bit, and then the timing of it is off for Taft. I think Taft is almost better off getting a ball over the top.
37th minute. Rivera on the drive, still has it. Nears the box, sends it across to Becerra, who couldn't quite find the handle, now recovers. Back outside to Ponce. Calderon, interestingly, moved from the far side to the near side as the Falcons work it from right to left. So trying to switch things up. And the long pass from Carvin, too long. What might be some of the strategy behind that when you talk about a player that's been on one side and you bring him in and have him work from the other side?
There's either two things. Either the player that they brought off the bench is more comfortable on the right side, or they want to use his pace on the left side to get in behind Taft, or they see a matchup that they feel like they can exploit with his speed over here. So one of those two things. We do it all the time based on our personnel in the game, and if we see certain player matchups that we'd like to exploit.
And again, the 50-50 ball won by Cerritos. Down goes Calderon, and the whistle comes in. Cabrera.
Probably a little embellished, but still a foul.
Yeah, Calderon up on his feet and limping off somewhat gingerly, but he'll stay in the game.
He'll probably have the limp now that turns into full sprint in 5 seconds.
Payeras with the kick. Pop flies into the box. Cleared away. And the Cougars have it.
Cerritos is 17, Guy Carvin, who's done a really good job in the back winning balls and being demanding. Look at his size and he's athletic. They're also bringing him forward on set pieces like that. So they're asking a lot of him to get up and down, but he's done a terrific job so far.
Yeah, well, the tall defender just seems like such an advantage to have, particularly on those kinds of clears that are more of the lob variety. You have to go up and get the ball, and that's where Carvin's been so effective, it would seem, here in the first half, in the 39th minute. 1-0.
Defensively, he seems to sit in the middle of the park and cleans up anything that's in the air. It's sort of that prototypical central defender that we all want to have.
Another long lead pass. Ponce sends it back. And the Falcons win it at midfield, trying to set up a rush. Hard drive, and the ball lost out of bounds on the far side. The throw in a little strong. Loose ball again out, and this time it goes back to Cerritos.
Pace of the game has slowed down a little bit, whether it's fatigue or just it's finally settled in and all that raw emotion and adrenaline has dissipated. Which if I'm Taft right now, I think it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that step high, in which they might do here and press a little bit, see if they can get one before the half.
Well, we talk about in our basketball coverage, one of the truisms that's been put forward that the most important time in a basketball game is that last 5 minutes before halftime and the first 5 minutes out of halftime, starting the second half. And I think some of that is where that's a time in the game where it's very easy to become somewhat complacent mentally.
I would agree with that. I think we were a victim of that, unfortunately, down at Fresno City in the second round of the postseason. Their big goal scorer, Johnny Rodriguez, scored in the 40th minute against us, and we felt we had played reasonably well in the first half and stayed disciplined, stayed to our task, had some good opportunities, and I got one in the 40th. And all of a sudden, our players, you could see it in them like, oh no, that's not the one we wanted to give up against Fresno in the 40th.
Free kick for Gonzalo.
There's Taft. I would take a little risk here and put extra numbers forward, put them in the box, win the first ball, win the second ball. I think Taft needs numbers here. That's a terrific
lob
ball.
Into the box, and from the far side, streaking in.
Yep. That's a good call.
And we have a foul. Is it a foul in the box?
Yeah, it's a penalty kick.
That's a huge play. That's a terrific entry pass from Gonzalo.
And that might be Hugo Magano that's down. Is that
yeah,
possible?
it was Tor streaking in from the far side, but the foul occurring before. And we still have a Taft player down. Haven't quite been able to get a number yet, but the foul in the box, and this is a huge development here in the 42nd minute.
Well, we talked about it just 2 minutes ago, your analogy of the last 5 minutes, and they press numbers. They hit a very good driven ball, a very good dangerous ball into the box and put numbers in there. And Cerritos doesn't defend quite as well, and we're looking at a penalty kick here in the 43rd minute.
Well, if it's Magana who was down, that raises the question of who will take the penalty kick. Do we see a number?
They're 19.
And that's Marcos Moreno.
Marcos Moreno on the PK.
Aldama in goal for Cerritos. Here's the kick. What a save!
Second save.
Moreno
too.
tried to get in and follow it in, and Aldama again blocks him at the point of attack, and Moreno stoned by Aldama here in the 43rd minute. And if the frustration, Dave, hasn't set in before that, it's going to be hard to fight it off now, if you're Taft.
Now the momentum swings into halftime if it stays 1-0. Not a well-taken penalty kick from Taft, but a good save from the goalkeeper. Read it, deflected it, got on his feet, reloaded, was able to deal with the second ball too. So terrific goalkeeping.
Another centering pass, Tor with the header, and Aldama. Boy, what a series for Aldama down there. 3 big saves, not the least of which a save on a penalty kick. And it remains 1-0. Well, remember that moment, and it's going to be hard to forget it.
Yeah, and even that second one there where he gets free and Tor gets free in the box and heads it right at the goalkeeper.
Cervantes sends it ahead. Perez working on the far side, looking for the center. But Carvin there clears it away. And the slide tackle sends it out of play. And the Falcons will have it. So we'll have a throw in into the 45th minute, but there will be some extra time.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit. I'm excited to talk to you. We'll do some good stuff with this. Thank you, man.
Thanks for the feedback.
Thank you. Oh, and your voice is golden. Oh, thanks. It's smooth, man.
18's out. I'm trying to get.
Well, they have Taft with 2 shots. And they just had a couple.
I was going to say those 2 shots just happened in the last 90 seconds.
Yeah, and it's a statement about really how stifling the Falcon defense has been leading up to that moment. It's been hard, it would seem, for Taft to really get a direct shot on goal.
Right, they look a little of that bend, don't break. Their back 3 is pretty solid. They hold a nice line. They double down on balls, and they're physical, so they're not afraid to challenge and tackle. Might be a yellow card there.
Yeah, coming in it was Cabrera. And it looks like it's just a warning there from Kirk.
That was an I see you.
A defining call in that situation. Payeras will have the free kick from the stripe. And not surprisingly, the Falcons not in a huge hurry here in extra time at the end of the first half. Payeras. And a double team comes over. That ball knocked free, and it's loose now and won by Taft. Time enough for the Cougars to maybe come up with one more charge as Lira deflects that one out of play. The one-timer lobbed forward. On battle on the near side, Cabrera able to play that one off of Payeras and keep it for Taft. Coronado swings it outside. Christian Cabrera with the one-timer. That one is sent on goal, but an easy stop for Aldama. Alan Perez tried to redirect the header.
Can't have much left here. We're in the 47th minute. Cerritos not in any hurry.
Aldama launches this one into the Taft zone, and Lira able to corral. Centering pass. Controlled momentarily, but now it's loose, sent out to the far side. Carvin into the box and cleared away. This will be a corner kick here.
The balls that Cerritos plays into the box always seem to give Taft a difficult time how they handle it. A lot of deflections, balls that have gone off the end line for a corner or a second ball that ends up in the box. They haven't had a clean, Taft has not had a clean touch on it to be able to clear balls out.
Well, the goal did come on a corner kick, and the header just wide.
Hey there, boys.
Joined by the Mike Zapata on the broadcast. And Michael, good to have you. You've been tirelessly working here, getting things set up, getting things going.
Yeah, we had a bit of a malfunction early.
Well, it's an imperfect world.
Really is.
Meanwhile, that'll do it for the first half. And the Falcons, with the early goal from Payeras, a 1-0 lead. As we head to the break here on SoCalCollegeSports.com, you're watching the 3C2A Men's and Women's Soccer Championships.
Everyone, real quick, we are going to sign off real quick and then come back with you shortly. It's the 3C2A 2017 Soccer Championships here from American River.
see how that materializes.
Low kick, redirected in front of the goal mouth and in. Initially, low kick, redirected in front of the goal mouth and in. Initially redirected, and it looked like Carlos Payeras who eventually got the finish. Second half set to get underway. 1-0 Cerritos with the lead over Taft in our first men's semifinal. Jeff Stoynoff, Dave LaTourette, and the entire SoCal College sports team here with you from American River College. This weekend we have men's and women's soccer and volleyball as well this weekend, so a busy weekend here. Championship weekend here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. And Dave, Cerritos gets the early goal and then survives the penalty kick in the first half. And as you alluded to in the first half, it would seem then carries a measure of momentum into the second half.
Well, now it does. I think the biggest goal for Taft now is.
All right, here we go. 45 minutes.
Can't hear you.
To determine a participant in Sunday's championship.
So now Taft going into the second half.
And just having a minor audio difficulty here, and we'll get that sorted out.
So now we get into the second half. And I think the big task for Taft right now is to overcome the missed penalty kick in the 40th-ish minute and see if they can build momentum on what they had going on there. They had some opportunities at the end of the first half.
And gentlemen, let's go to the replay from earlier in the game. The corner kick that got everything started.
Yeah, Cerritos had that player that got unhinged at the back post, and Taft left him unmarked. And all you need is a little opportunity at this level. Good, just get a foot on it and not try and do anything other than redirect it and get it on frame. And little deflection, Cerritos 1-0, and we're still at that point, 46th minute.
And this is Calderon with a little move, tries to center.
And he
Garcia moving up and able to just block it back out of the box and back out to the midfield stripe.
And he continues to be dangerous, just like he was in the first half. Pace, good first touch, likes to take the ball inside, and very, very dangerous.
Another centering pass. This one cleared away once again. It was Kevin Martinez. But nobody home, and Calderon keeps for Cerritos, just underway in the second half. The one-timer from Lira, controlled momentarily, and then cleared away.
Seems to be clear that Cerritos wanted to come out and put immediate pressure on Taft, and they did that for the first 2 minutes.
Two whitewashes. Can you put a little bit more color in my dad's? Okay.
Magana, who has returned, had it for a moment, but Aldama clears it away for Cerritos. And a tough pass out, corralled by Calderon. Nice job keeping the ball. Perez clears it back out. This is Martinez. And Calderon faces up. And little to no danger for the Falcons in resetting. They have the lead. Lira in control.
Okay.
I see the highlight of the goal.
Okay, cool, thanks.
This is Becerra. And the long kick from Aldama out of play, and it'll give it back to Taft. And Dave, again, this is a little bit of what you're talking about now with the Falcons wanting to do a little more ball control as time passes on here in the ball game.
I think that they're going to want to hold it for longer periods, but it looks like when they came out initially, they put immediate pressure on Taft, and I think that's pretty smart to get a little bit of tempo of the game back as opposed to trying to sit, which they're never going to sit, but at least to put their will back onto the match a little bit and put Taft on their heels.
Calderon marked by Tor.
And Calderon tends to be the one that's putting them on their heels right now. He's already had a lot of the ball here in the first 3+ minutes of the second half.
Yeah, they seem to have zeroed in on the Calderon matchup. Have the Falcons. Scooped up by Garcia.
It just looks a little like not enough color.
But it also looks here in the first 4 minutes, Jeff, the Taft isn't panicking. I think they feel comfortable that they're going to get some opportunities. They need to absorb some pressure from Cerritos and then take advantage of their opportunities. They're not pressing really high yet. They're only keeping one player high. They sort of look like drifted into like a 3-5-1-1 with Magano high. Now they've got 3, so maybe they're going to selectively press. We'll see how it develops here.
Tor and Calderon battling. And it's Tor able to win it for Taft. Splits the double team. Tor in from the left. A chance developing. One-timer from Magana. He couldn't quite get all of it, and Aldama able to scoop it up. See a little more pressure from Taft in the backfield. Lob to the center, but the Falcons lose the handle. Taft will come back in the 50th minute. Give and go. Marino had the penalty kick in the first half, but Aldama with the big save. Marino followed by Carvin. Tor working away from Perez. Gets it back from Magana. Dials it up from long range, but he's wide of the mark.
And I think right now Cerritos is okay with letting them shoot from 25-ish yards out and letting their goalkeeper deal with those balls. So I think that's okay. They're going to keep them in front. I think Taft needs to try and get behind them a little bit, combine to get behind, or when they get a chance to play over the top into the flanks a little bit.
Couple of substitutions. Becerra returns for Cerritos. Taft comes in, riding a streak of 14-0-1 in their last 15 games. Meanwhile, the Falcons have won 11 in a row. Just what you would expect, but these two teams have been hot for a couple of months. In fact, the Falcons, it's really been all season. Cerritos, the only team in the 3C2A on the men's side without a loss.
Yeah,
entering this weekend.
Going into the postseason, them and Santa Barbara were both undefeated, and Mount Sac got the better of Santa Barbara last Saturday to get to this point. So now it's just Cerritos, and I think deservedly so, undefeated, #1 in the power rankings, but also ranked #1 in the soccer coaches poll in the country.
Lira, pop flies, the header is wide of the mark. There was a trio of blue jerseys there. I believe it was Perez. Couldn't quite get that one on goal. Becerra tries to punch that one to Calderon. Knocked free, and it's a loose ball. Ultimately, the Falcons get it back.
Taft's number 15, Clayton Tor, has done a nice job defending here in the back. He's been very aggressive, but also disciplined when he needs to be. And he's also been dangerous when he gets into the attack. So
yeah, he made a great move splitting a double team a couple of minutes back. Produced easily the best opportunity for Taft here in the second half. Magana took a swing at it, but couldn't find the mark, and score remains 1-0. Rodriguez out of the scrum with it. Lobs into the box. Cleared, not all the way out. Now Coronado finishes the job for Taft. Cabrera with the near steal. Becerra over the center line. Calderon. And they send the double team that time at Calderon. They work it across to Lira. Over there with Ponce. Centering, looking for Perez. He battles, comes up with it. Perez goes down, and the ball lost over the end line back to Taft, and no call as Perez hits the turf.
One thing Cerritos is doing very effectively when they get the ball into the attack, what they tend to do is they step at least 3 players up onto the back line of Taft, and they can serve those probing balls in there, and they're dangerous. They can be dangerous, taken down on goal or taken down and played back into the next layer of players for Cerritos coming in. So when Cerritos gets in the attack, they tend to do it with more players than Taft does.
Taft trying to mount a charge on the far side. Cabrera loses that one on the far sideline. It's going to go back to Cerritos.
Perfect example there is Taft had the ball facing at least the other team's goal, facing Cerritos' goal or end line, and Taft still had 5 or 6 players in their own half jogging out and not giving enough support. So they're starting to leave too much space between their front 5 and their back 5, if you want to call it that.
Cervantes one-times it on the far side, but only blue jerseys there. Falcons will knock that one out of play and reset here in the 55th minute. Into Felix. Coronado loses the handle. Back out to the mid-stripe. Christian Cabrera pop flies, looking for Alexander Cabrera. And overshoots. Aldama will have the kick for Cerritos.
It will be interesting if we stay 1-0, Jeff. 56th minute right now. How quick does Taft start to change things? Do they press a little higher? Do they put more numbers into the attack? Do they show urgency? Do they make changes or adjustments? And we'll see how confident they are in their system and their players by when that starts to happen.
Looking on the far side. Becerra giving chase. And instead, Taft knocks it out of play. We will have a throw in. Lira will handle it on the far side. Carmen sends it in. Garcia out with it.
I think what we see from Cerritos, too, is that something that we're going to see this afternoon in Mount Sac. They're going to do the same type of thing in terms of their system of play and the type of play that they have and the type of numbers they commit forward into the attack.
Loose ball, and the Falcons still have it. Rodriguez fans it out to Calderon. Calderon with the one-timer. Blocked at the point by Tor. And cleared away on the near side. The throw-in will go back to Taft. Esteban Camacho clears that one away. Taft still with it. Perez has the pass blocked and stolen. Becerra was looking for Perez.
Taft had a great opportunity there. Instead of hitting the ball on goal, I think you better play that ball diagonally through on the ground. He's got a player to his right, and they can get numbers into the box. And
they switch it to the near side. Overshooting Magana, but Taft keeps it back out to Tor. Tor, pop flies, far side of the box. Cleared, but not all the way out. Taft still on the attack with Magana. And that one's sent out of play, and it will be a corner kick, so an opportunity here for Taft in the 58th minute.
Even though we're only in the 58th, this is where I think you have to be confident from a Taft standpoint to put some numbers in the box, and they're going to maybe target their 15th Tor, who's been pretty good in the air. He's been dangerous. Magana's going to be in there as well, and we'll see what they can develop. But I would put numbers. I would almost risk a little bit more here and put another player high in the hole and just make sure we win the ball if we don't score and put the knockdown ball back into the box.
Magana lining up at the far post. Tor at the near post. Low kick cleared away. but not all the way out. Coronado bumps it back in.
There it is.
One-timer and a goal! Magana.
That's exactly the one, Jeff. I talked about that ball, the win the knockdown that comes out of the box. It sits in that hole right between the 18 and the midfield stripe to play it back in. Beautiful ball into the box and terrific finish, and you can see it as soon as it hit his foot.
In the 59th minute. And the teams trade goals off of corner kicks. Well, they cleared it out, but not all the way out. And then Coronado with a good job quickly getting it back in. And that really, I think, set up Magana. What a job on the one-timer, too. Not an easy ball to handle.
No, both of them. There's terrific service back in. A lot of times you see that and players will overhit it or they try and shoot it, where he takes a nice ball and redirects it to the back post where Magana's come unhinged. And he decides to hit it one time and puts it nicely inside the far post. And when we looked at it, he didn't try and kill it either. He just redirected it. Goalkeeper's moving to his right to try and defend. He's got a quick set and then get back, and that ball is too well taken. So 1-1, 60th minute.
So a brand new ball game. Lyra. Carvin tries to thread one ahead, but couldn't find anybody at home. And now the Cougars with new purpose. Magana on the long pass, tracks it down, in from the left. And just kicked out of play. Good job by Perez for Cerritos. And that'll allow the Falcons to set up, and Taft breaks through here in the second half.
Terrific opportunity for Taft right now to go for the jugular a little bit, get one in, get that second one, and all of a sudden Cerritos is on their heels.
Well, this corner kick will come from the near side, and you see Tor setting up in the box, and it was a low entry last time.
Interesting, Cerritos decides to defend with only 8 in the box.
High archer to the far post, and Aldama able to clear it away. And
yeah, really well taken by him, but no pressure at all either. So in the end, a pretty simple ball for him to collect.
Touch pass to Becerra, streaking into the Taft zone. Makes a little move. He's still in control. Outside, Carvin fans it outside. Carrillo has checked in. Gets it back from Camacho. See how deep the Falcons go into their bench. And will that ultimately be a factor here before it's all said and done? So we'll have a free kick.
Taft will defend with 10. I think they're smart to do that with Cerritos' athleticism. They're good in the air. Defend with 10. Make sure they get this ball out of the box, and then they'll deal with it and go forward. So good tactical decision by Taft here.
Hooked into the box and cleared away. Not all the way out. Becerra trying to keep it. It's a loose ball, and now Taft has it. Looking to set up a counter. Long pass. Too much lead on it. But Taft will keep it. Leopoldo Hernandez checking into the game really for the first time today that I can recall. And Hernandez is one of the leading scorers for Taft on the season. And how much of that might be by design, keeping a guy fresh, for late in the second half.
And I think there's a big part of that. When you have a player who comes off the bench, if they're smart enough, they have a good soccer IQ, as we refer to it, if they can watch the game, see how it develops from the bench, some players thrive on that. They feel like when they're in the game, they'll get defended a little bit more, but they come in off the bench, they'll take advantage.
David, that kind of reminds me a little bit of how Mexico used to employ Chicharito coming off of the bench. I believe when he played over in Europe, in the UEFA. Also a key player coming off of the bench, kind of adding a little bit more of an offensive threat.
Well, when they come on late and they're fresh in the 60th, 65th minute,
Yeah.
when you see it in Europe, when they bring that one sub on,
Right.
all of a sudden that player's been watching the game. They can intelligently pick it apart, and then they know where the soft spots are. They come in, they add a new dynamic, they add a new pace to the game, and that makes a huge difference. Good tactical substitutions.
Cleared away, and Carvin able to get it outside to Becerra, who's quickly double teamed. Gets it back to Lira.
David, can you maybe talk about, what's the state of mind right now if you're Cerritos? You had the early goal, you go up 1-0, but you're down your best player. And, they're going to have to pull something out of the hat a little bit here. The momentum obviously in favor of the Cougars.
I think they feel confident. You've seen the way that they played. It's not a lack of confidence, but they haven't had that little bite on the end of balls into the box, that finishing balls that they've had haven't been really, really dangerous. So
Because they're missing their finisher.
yeah, absolutely. When you look to that player, so someone's got to be bigger in the moment. We refer to it as who's next up, who's going to take that opportunity and finish it. But the way Cerritos plays it's for sure not with a lack of confidence. So they're going to be confident. I think there's a number of players on the field who feel like they can take that opportunity. Let's just see who it might end up being for Cerritos.
You get the sense that Taft has sort of a renewed step, which you would expect after a goal. But is there a danger in that as well, where you might get beat on a counter?
Absolutely, because now all of a sudden Taft thinks they're going to score. They can score out of the run of play or off a corner kick or whatever it might be. So they feel confident as well, and now they can adjust their system of play or their tactics a little bit, because instead of being 1-0 down, they can be slightly more conservative in certain moments. And now we're looking at 25 minutes, 1-1, and it's a 25-minute match.
Into the 66th minute, a throw in for Taft on the far side. Tied at 1. Pretty good start to the weekend.
And I think, Taft, Cerritos hasn't been in the Final Four for a couple of years, actually since 2014, I believe, when they won it. Taft was here last year when the match was in Ventura, and they bowed out in semifinals to Mount Sac. So I think even though a lot of these players were not here, as a culture and as a program, I think the sophomores especially they're ready for this. They want to take this on.
Was it Taft that lost in the penalty kicks? Is that the one that I'm thinking of?
I thought it was Hartnell.
No, correct.
Yeah, Hartnell in the final.
Yeah, Taft lost to Mount Sac last year in penalty kicks.
Oh, okay. It was Taft, not Hartnell. Okay. And then our game 2 of the men's bracket will be a rematch of the championship from last year, Fresno City and Mount Sac.
And that will be a good one, mainly because of that. We talk about that again. Both teams with 2-year programs, you only have a certain amount of players that come back to that. But I think one of the bigger things we're going to see in that matchup is 2 contrasting styles of play, and who's going to make adjustments, if anybody does, in that match to deal with it.
Mount Sac always so loaded. You talk about Fresno City, a grinded out type of team. They were on their heels versus West Valley in the playoffs. They come in winners of 20 straight. But that figures to be a very good matchup late.
Right, and it'll be interesting to see how Mount Sac decides to deal with Johnny Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Really,
Player of the state.
You can call him the best player in the state, one of the best players, best striker, but and we'll see it, phenomenal, more than anything, phenomenal athlete. And his athleticism, and I said this to his coach, Eric, I said his athleticism,
a breed apart.
It could be the one that makes the difference.
Yeah.
Not his goal-scoring ability, just athleticism purely.
Ponce tries to enter it, and it's sent back to Magana. Magana going in 1-on-2. Around the slide, still on the drive, tries to center, and it's Aldama who just gets his fingertips on it.
Actually,
he had Marino coming in.
Defended reasonably well. He forces him to the end line, doesn't give him a great angle. The goalkeeper does nicely, comes to the front post and closes everything off. So Cerritos actually very good there defensively, even under pressure.
And a reminder, everybody, this is game 1 of 4 on the day. We have 2 women's, 2 men's games. This is game 1 of the men's bracket. Later, as we mentioned earlier, Fresno City and Mount Sac. You can go to our website, www.socalcollegesports.com, and our YouTube channel.
And we have some terrific women's matchups, too, right?
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of Fresno City, aren't we, before it's all said and done
2
today.
Undefeated teams in the women's bracket. Fresno City very well represented at this year's championships.
And who's missing from this year for the first time in 5?
Is it Oxnard?
Cerritos.
Cerritos women,
on
yeah.
the women's, yeah.
Becerra from well out front.
Their run of, I believe, 5.
5 straight.
Yeah.
So that's quite the feather in the cap of. I want to say, was it Santa Barbara? Or was
Santa
it the
Barbara.
Santa Barbara. Yeah.
able to knock them out? And
And it was one of those games for Santa Barbara playing at home on their turf in the fog. Could have been a difference maker.
Magana unable to find that one.
I got to tell you, in the drive to the field here at American River, I was a little worried about fog and how that might affect some of the shots for the broadcast today. But luckily, the sun's out and making a pretty good run of it. Great day of soccer here from American River.
I was a little worried about how the fog was going to affect my driving getting here.
Are you saying you have little margin for error driving a vehicle, Jeff? You're in the new Ioniq.
I don't want to scare anybody that might be in the area when I'm driving home.
It's all right. You're in a hybrid vehicle. We won't be traveling at very high speeds.
No, it's true. Carvin sends it outside to Carrillo. Carrillo lost the handle.
We haven't seen Carbon on the ball a lot in the second half. They need to get him involved. He's good in the air, and when he's involved, he's physical, and he can be a dangerous player in terms of facilitating the rest of the game.
Yeah, interesting that Calderon's not on the field right now. But would you expect to see someone like Calderon, who's been a matchup problem so far, to be back before it's all said and done?
I would expect to see him within the last 15 minutes of the second half. They're going to want to use his pace and his craftiness. And he's been one player, Cerritos has a lot of them, one player that's really stood out mainly because he's been really effective at getting behind Taft and causing them problems.
Jeff, David, I don't know if we have an official stat, but from my eyes in this half, it's been mainly Taft in terms of time of possession.
Taft has had the better opportunities. Cerritos had that first 2 minutes, and Cerritos had one free kick down here in the corner. But beyond that, Taft has done a really nice job after being put on their heels the first 2 minutes in the second half.
Lira goes down, and the ball sent back into the Cerritos zone.
And ironically enough, Cerritos seems to have toned down their physicalness of their play that they were doing in the first half, and maybe they just realized they're not going to be able to get away with it with this official. But I think maybe they're out of their rhythm a little bit.
I think the yellow card, I think shell-shocked them a little bit, and obviously the goal here in the second half for Taft has done just that as well.
And it's brought some life into Taft's legs because I thought Taft looked a little bit tired 5 or 6 minutes into the second half.
Yeah.
Long pass ahead, looking for Rodriguez. Near miss on the long pass.
And Cerritos starting to get a little bit unhinged, or a little bit. They're not as compact as they were at the back with their back three. There's seams that are starting to open, whether that's from fatigue or lack of discipline. But that back three of Cerritos hasn't been quite as connected as it was the first 45 minutes.
That one just squirts away, and Magana starts a drive back the other way, but Carvin from behind able to poke that one free and get it back for Cerritos. Rodriguez can't handle the long pass. Gonzalo's pass off the mark. Down goes Perez, no call.
It's a good tackle, go in shoulder to shoulder. The Cerritos player leaned into him, and he gets a foot in there and dispossesses him. Really, really well done by Taft. And from the referee standpoint, standing right there looking at it, so they're not going to get that one.
Yeah. Is that kind of similar to what you see in the American football, where both players playing the ball and you're going to allow a little contact?
Oh, absolutely, especially the shoulder to shoulder. That's the one thing that's legal in the game here.
Kept alive by Coronado. Carvin closes and sends that one back out, but not all the way out. Taft maintains possession. Magana. Pop flies in front of the box. Cabrera one times it, but it's over the crossbar.
Wow. Corner.
Terrific.
I thought that was off of Cabrera, but
must have been deflected. I just thought he mishit it, but it looks like it was deflected.
yeah, he was battling Jose Ponce down there, and that Ponce might have just gotten a piece of it.
And
Looks like that's the call.
And those are the balls that tend to be a little bit dangerous when you play with a back three. Balls just over the top diagonally if you can play them. Good ball, but I think that was Magana that played it in. Dangerous. Now they get a corner kick.
74th minute.
22 in the box, 17, 25.
And the corner kick
With 8
coming.
again. Sorry, Jeff.
High arcer over everybody. Out to the near side, but Taft recovers. They'll maintain offense. Christian Cabrera still battling down in the corner, and now a whistle comes in.
David, what's the call here? Is that ball going to stay here?
Yeah, I believe so. I think once that player's down on the ground,
Carrillo
He
is
can-
the Cerritos player.
he can stay there. He just can't play it. If you're on the ground and you're trying to play it with your feet, they're going to call dangerous. So it's and he sort of rolled over it a little bit. So dangerous play.
This is a dangerous spot for Cerritos right here.
Absolutely. Now you see instead of Cerritos defending with 8, they're going to bring one more player back. I think if he snaps this ball right into the front 6, this is going to be dangerous. Hit a little too
Hooked
soft.
in, on the ground, in the box, still alive.
That ball's got to get hit with pace. It's just hit up there too soft and an easy ball for Cerritos to take care of.
Cerritos trying to mount a counter if they can. Perez, marked by Cervantes, but Perez still with it.
Great ball.
Ahead.
Offside.
Offside's the call.
Just offsides.
Rodriguez in alone, but just ahead of the ball.
That's one of those balls over there. Taft player has the ball at their foot in front of their bench, and they try to be cute with it and possess it. And sometimes you need to just disrupt the play, slow it down, just knock it out of bounds, and get your numbers back behind. And that ended up being a little bit more dangerous than it should have been.
David, that last counter opportunity, you had mentioned previous to that Cerritos had brought up a 9th player, and that kind of takes a little bit of the bite out of your counter.
Yeah, you lose one player in a counterattack, and all of a sudden your combination is gone, and it has to the game. You have to slow it down. You have to hold it and get numbers into the attack.
Long pass for Magana, a little too long. 76th minute. Tied at 1. Semifinal number 1.
And I'm sure there's going to be a handful of opportunities left here in the last 15 minutes, plus any injury time we have.
And a couple of more substitutions coming in for Taft.
Returning for Cerritos, number 14, Carlos Payeras.
Carlos Payeras, who had the goal in the first half
I'm surprised
for Cerritos.
we haven't seen Calderon, Jeff.
Yeah, still haven't seen him in the 76th minute.
Because they've been largely ineffective, especially on the right side, without him since he sat down.
Coach, and what is that? No, what's the reason? Is that maybe I don't want to speak to anything disciplinary, but is it maybe a matchup that the coach sees? Is it something that Benny is just not seeing out there from Calderon? Is he maybe nursing an injury? I mean, there are a lot of factors.
I would think it's either more of a fitness or an injury thing, because in terms of the matchup, no matter who was defending him, he was dangerous. They would double down on him, which drew a player to him, but even with that, he was always seemed to create something going forward, and maybe he doesn't have the discipline to defend. Maybe he hasn't been able to get back and defend, but he's played in every single one of their matches this year.
The slide tackle pokes it free, but not all the way out. Instead, Coronado over to Magana. Magana faces up, sends it across, but nobody home.
Yeah, he needed a runner.
Intelligent player, has the ball at his feet, draws one, and the second one comes and puts a little pressure, and instead of him trying to free himself up and have a ball on goal, he becomes a facilitator and tries to drop it in at the back 6, but no help there.
Yeah, Magana, is he cramping up? Is that what's going on here, Coach?
Yeah, he might be, which sort of surprising. Late in the season, you played a lot of matches. You had a week off since we played last. We're only in the 76th minute, so if that's the case, that's a little surprising.
Well, this is going to be a corner kick as well. It looked like Magana, nobody was home, but it ends up going off of Cerritos, so a big opportunity here.
And we said it before where Cerritos was only defending with 8, they're back defending with 9. Another yellow card. Number 5 for Cerritos.
And that's Luis Lira.
Well, Coach, I didn't really see a lot there from Lira. Was that something that maybe he was John with the referee? Or?
Yeah, probably verbal, which they're emotional kids. It's an emotional team, and that's what got them into trouble at Golden West when Garcia got sent off, was an emotional outburst at the referee.
Taft crashing the goal. Magana with the header, and it's just sent out. The Magana header was on point.
You can see what they try to do with Magana. He's sort of central in the box, and then he floats out to the back post to try to get himself unattached from his defender or from looks. So they sweep him out, they hold delay him, and then bring him into the back post, and he's just comfortable putting the ball in his head.
Tora couldn't quite get solid contact on the center, and it'll give it back to Cerritos here in the 79th minute.
Coach, you maybe wonder if maybe that cramping or the lack of, I don't want to say condition, but the lack of explosion maybe on that jump. If he's coming down on that ball, that's a significant different trajectory. Probably has a little bit more buzz on it.
Yeah, if he has a little bit more snap in him, he's not cramping, doesn't have that issue. And it may just be a lot of times at this level, these kids have full of adrenaline and excitement at the and they are fresh from not having played for a week. So what happens is they expend a ton of energy in the first 40 or 60 minutes because they're doing things more explosively.
Cerritos trying to mount the counter, but Taft getting back and a little bit of pushing, and down goes a Taft player.
I am surprised one of the officials didn't see that, who just
Perez.
The Cerritos players took a swing and hit him in the back of the calf on that one, and surprisingly nobody saw that.
Yeah, it's Roland Gonzalo that's still down.
We see it at the end here on the replay as he kicks up, and that kick obviously was out of frustration. It's a pretty good job by the Cougars. It's a battle with 13s there between Perez and Gonzalo. Gonzalo goes down, and I think Gonzalo sold it a little bit, and one of the reasons maybe why the referee didn't draw a card.
Yeah, the referee's closer to it, so I'm sure he saw it, and maybe he realized there wasn't as much to it as it appeared to be.
Common occurrence in football.
Yes.
Do we have a stoppage of play here?
Well, Coach,
on the kick from Garcia.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I think Taft probably doing a pretty good job. They've been coached up. They know that this referee is. Coach, what's going on here?
Coach is yelling.
I think Benny's getting on the officials or getting on somebody a little bit. He's either asking them to sit down or he's asking them to leave, one or the other.
Well, might they still be talking about, and obviously this is just speculation, but might they still be talking about a play previously, because it would seem on the last play that Cerritos got a pretty favorable no call.
I agree.
Not a bad call, but nonetheless a call that didn't go against them. So It's hard to imagine that would be Benny Arteaga's major objection. And you go back to the Luis Lira yellow card, perhaps, on the previous corner kick. And
it looks like he's doing right now, he's got the posse of coaching staff up there, which is a lot of staff, which is interesting. And the way that I understand it, and we get this instruction all the time, that the reality is you're only supposed to have one coach up at a time. So maybe they've got multiple coaches that are coming up. They're all up at the same time, and they do that. So all referees handle it differently. So there's obviously some emotion from that sideline. And maybe Cerritos, there's a little crack right now in the armor. Maybe they're a little bit frustrated. They're not getting as much of the ball as they want. They're not getting the opportunities they want. And Taft's got to realize that. They've got them on their back foot, and they should go for it a bit.
And it bears repeating that one of the leaders in the entire state in yellow cards is Cerritos, and that's a statement perhaps about the style of play that they like to employ.
Right.
And we haven't seen many yellow cards at all here today.
No, not as many as you might expect with some of the fouls.
Great touch.
The give and go, but Tor with the block. Cleared but not out. Now sent to the near side, now to play.
Just as soon as we started talking about Taft trying to take advantage of that, Cerritos goes off right to the front foot, right to goal.
The throw in a little bit wide. The Falcons have it back. Carvin going to try and set up, but here come the Cougars, a near steal. Payer is able to clear it out. Now out of bounds on the far side. 83rd minute. Tension mounting in a 1-1 game.
And Cerritos continues to attack with 8. They leave 2 defenders for the 1 forward, whether it's Magana or whoever happens to be up top. And I think that's the way they've played, but maybe that's a little bit risky right now. Taft gets a better ball through, and it's been really, really dangerous for them. So if I was Cerritos, I'd play a little bit more conservative and use those players to hold the ball and possess it a little bit more instead of throwing numbers forward. But it's hard to argue with a team that's undefeated, ranked #1 in the country.
The throw in into the corner and again sent out. '84th minute.
We have another discussion going on in the corner, so being a little bit away from the field, you don't quite hear what's going on. So there's obviously something going on. And the player just got sent off.
A red card coming.
A Cerritos player just gets sent off.
And it might be Becerra. So we're taking a look down there. Becerra talking along with Payeras and Jose Ponce.
And Cerritos ought to be very careful they don't get another player sent off at this point. They're in dangerous territory. They're super emotional team. And the problems that they've had with that type of play or that emotion has caught up with them. It looks like he's showing a second yellow card, so I believe maybe he's sending Benny off as well.
So it's Becerra's, or I should say Becerra, Adrian Becerra, for Cerritos that appears to be the player that has been sent off. So talk about now what that means. Now we're talking about 11 on 10 then the rest of the way.
Well, they play down a man. If they can happen to pull it off, however they pull it off, now they're missing another player, one of their players for Sunday. But more importantly, it's not about Sunday; it's about today. So you know, there's a player sent off. Well, we're looking at 85th minute, but I think we're going to have 4 or 5 minutes of extra time added on. So we'll see how that changes how Cerritos plays. But if there's one team that can play out of being a man down, Cerritos with their pace and their technical abilities can do that. But they have to be disciplined and not let the emotion get away with them right now.
Coach, does Garcia sit Sunday as well if Cerritos makes it?
No, he'll play on Sunday.
Okay.
Well, it's worth repeating that Cerritos was a man down and able to get out of overtime against Golden West and ultimately win in penalty kicks, and you have to imagine that's going to be something approaching their strategy here.
Right. In that game, they only had to play less than 10 minutes without a player to get to penalties. In this game, they've got to play another at least 10 plus another 30 to try and be able to get to that point.
Here's the throw in now with Taft, a man up. One-timer sent in and cleared away. Kevin Martinez for Cerritos. Coronado with the steal. Off to Perez. And they clear it back out. Another Taft player goes down. This time no call.
He's calling play on, so he's got a foul. Maybe, I don't know if he has a card, you can see him show that later, but that was a little bit of a dangerous tackle.
Yeah, Carver was late.
Yep,
Moreno tries to switch the attack, and the ball cleared away, and Taft will reset.
And I've seen refs let play go on, and then the next dead ball, they'll show a card. We'll see if he decides to reach for his pocket in this case, but I don't know that he will.
A battle on the far side, and it's sent out of play, and Cerritos will have it back.
Yep, there it is.
So another card came out.
He just reached to his pocket. We'll see if he shows it. He had his hand up in his pocket. There it is.
And it's the correct call. I mean,
Oh,
obviously, you know, he comes in late with that tackle and clips a player, but the reason I believe the reason why he didn't stop play there is because possession was still with the Cougars.
And that was really well done by the referee. Taft still has the ball, and they're in an opportunity to create. So he just holds that card until the next dead ball, and justly he shows that it was a late tackle.
I just got one for Cerritos. 28 for 26. We had a yellow card on 17.
So the throw in comes in. Perez
Cerritos 17.
in control, quickly doubled. Sends it across, and now it's poked away, but not all the way out. Lira tiptoeing the far side, and down he goes, and no whistle. Now here comes a whistle.
Well, it looked like he got clipped.
Yeah, it took something in the shin there.
He is probably going to be on a quick whistle for the rest of this match because there's emotion that's involved with both of these teams. Taft doing a better job of controlling that, so he's going to be quick on the whistle if anything gets contentious.
We're in the 88th minute. And right now, Taft a man up the rest of the way after a red card on Adrian Becerra.
A lot of stoppages in play here. How many? You think maybe five minutes added on?
I think we're going to at least 5 minutes added on now with some of the injuries. A couple of the referees having to speak with the Cerritos bench, and then the little bit of time that they spent sending the player off and getting that organized as well.
Yeah, they had a coffee date over there, seemingly.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never seen a fourth referee walk.
This one cleared out by the Cougars all the way back. Andrew Perez will have to retrieve, and he'll send it back to Aldama. When we talked about the Falcons wanting to slow the pace when they had the 1-0 lead, you can believe they want to slow the pace at this point down a man.
And I don't understand that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. They're trying to kill the game now, but they're already looking at. We're going to look at another 7 or 8 minutes here in the second half. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised at that.
Trading headers, and the ball eventually corralled. Here's an opportunity developing for Taft. Alan Perez streaking in, tries to center. But Aldama right there, and he'll pick it up.
Coach, Aldama strikes me as a bit of a flamboyant personality. I like it. He reminds me of another number 0. Do you know who I'm thinking about?
Yeah, our flamboyant Mexican goalkeeper with the flashy jersey. We need to
Yes,
get him some more.
Yes, sir. Little Jorge Campos.
Some more baggy gear. He loves to. Every time he touches the ball, he likes to hit the ground.
Yeah, he likes to make a show of it.
Yeah,
I love
it. That's okay. But he's a good goalkeeper.
Yes, he is.
Very confident. You need that as a goalkeeper. You need that confidence.
And so is Jorge Campos.
Yep.
Long entry pass, cleared but not out. Lira battling against Perez, and the whistle will give it back to Cerritos.
This is a good opportunity. Taft being up a man, possess a little bit more, and try and get Cerritos to be ball side and like that probing ball that they just hit to the back post, and try and find that extra player high and behind the back line of Cerritos to have players that can hit that ball, the distance and the pace of that ball. So I would look for it.
Aldama with the approach. They try to head it in, but instead it's cleared away, not all the way out. Gonzalo tried to clear. And now they'll send it back to Garcia. Well, I think it's fair to say that the second half has really been controlled by Taft.
Very impressed with Taft after absorbing the first 2 minutes of that second half. They've put Cerritos on their heels, and more so, I've been impressed with how disciplined they've been and not gotten caught up with the physical stuff and with the emotional side of the game.
Perez wants a call. He's not going to get it.
And Cerritos continues to try to embellish things. They seem to like to try and draw that foul and draw the emotion out of Taft, and Taft's been terrific.
Perez with the nifty save, centers for Magana. Magana in on Aldama, who just gets out. Boy, Magana nearly found a way to finish it before overtime.
Moreno, I believe, with the entry pass, and that was threading the needle there, David.
Almost through, little dangerous ball there. Has to be a little bit more of an angle. This is just, it's interesting. They're just trying to kill the game and get to overtime and adjust.
Well, they're a savvy bunch. They know what they're doing, and this is, I mean, if you're Coach Artiaga or if you're the coaching staff, it's probably what you want to do at this point.
Yeah, I think you do. You've got to want to get it to overtime because right now they're a little bit unbalanced. They're not sure how they're going to play with a man down, which surprisingly I'm surprised they don't know how to do that since they've been in that situation already this year a couple of times at least. But I think they're smart to try and at least get it to overtime so they can get a little break, adjust. Maybe get some fluids and some fuel in, and then they can mount a little tactical sense to figure out how they're going to take care of this. If I was Taft, I think they got some time to play. I think they should be patient, but they should put some numbers forward and look to get an opportunity or two.
Moreno. And this one cleared away. Ponce able to get it back. Perez.
Wow.
And that's Cerritos right there. Pace and crafty.
A shot on goal, but an easy stop for Garcia.
I mean, he had Perez on the far post. If that ball's higher, that's a potential goal.
Yeah, you have to play a better ball in, and I think that's what you're going to need to see from Cerritos if it gets to overtime. What they're going to have to do, just counterattack with 2 or 3 with pace and their craftiness, and hope they can get one.
Carvin from Camacho out to Lira. One times it. Martinez battling Tor. And Tor able to win it and get it back for Taft. We are in extra time.
Coach, the Cougars look spent.
They look tired. Both teams actually look tired. I think Cerritos has a handful of players that look a little bit more energetic.
Perez goes down. The ball really took him down as much as anything. Carvin outside to Martinez. Perez in a crowd, can't weave his way through, and it's Coronado out with it. Well, I think it's safe to say at this point, still speculation, but we have not seen Calderon at all in the second half, and it would appear that at least for the time, you would think he's not available. For Cerritos, he was a big part of the Falcons' success in the first half.
I would think that at this point, because you thought they would have brought them on to get some pace and inject some craftiness into the game on this right side, and they haven't done that. Maybe they're just right now they get them ready for overtime. If
we've seen more of Martinez and Rodriguez.
And Coach, let's talk about a penalty kick situation. They have to be playing. Is that correct? Is Coach Arteaga maybe saving him for overtime?
The way that we have it, the way our rules in CCCAA is that they have to be on the field. So you have to be on the field to take penalties.
And obviously, Aldama is making a show of making sure that he takes as much time off of the clock, but he's doing it very smartly because he's not holding the ball because he could be carded for that. He's waiting for the ball to come to a stop, and then he gets around it, waits for a player to come up, and then he takes possession.
And he's
just very smart.
And he's good with his feet too.
Yeah,
he's good technically with his feet, which is great for a goalkeeper, not just be able to hit a ball, but technically good with his feet. And he killed a good couple minutes there for Cerritos at the end of the half.
We are heading to overtime. It'll be 2 15-minute overtime periods to determine a winner here. 1-1 between Cerritos and Taft. It's the first semifinal of the 3C2A men's and women's soccer championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. set for overtime period number 1. And again, for those that might not be aware, this will be 2 overtime periods, then 15 minutes each. And it is not a golden goal situation here. We're going to play the 2 overtime periods and then go from there. And obviously, if we're still tied, that's when we move to the penalty kicks. Long intermission. I believe it was supposed to be 5 minutes. We were talking about that, but it was a little bit longer. And is that potentially advantage Cerritos, or I think are both teams fatigued enough that that's a sort of no foul there, equal benefit?
I think advantage Cerritos. They get a chance to adjust a little bit, and we'll see how they come out. They look like they're sitting in a back 4 right now. I don't know if that's the way they're going to play, but they may change formation and tactics a little bit and play like a 4-3-1, or just see how they're going to attack going forward. But that's maybe advantage for Cerritos, so they can reload and change their tactics.
And again, Falcons in the blue jerseys and Taft in the white. And we're underway here in the first overtime. Nothing settled through 90 minutes.
I think that intermission was 5 minutes plus injury time.
Payeras, meanwhile, with the header out of play, but Cerritos keeps it. Well, they started to. And now it'll go back to Taft.
So we're going to start to look at fitness being an issue and how teams, what type of fitness they have, what type of depth they have. I mean, you have to win the game at a certain level, but, you know, does anybody start looking at Sunday and decide? But I think the biggest thing is you got to get out of here with a win, be it in penalty kicks or otherwise. And that ball right there, that's one of the first mistakes you've seen by Tor down here in the corner. Just that's a little fatigue starts to set in. So it's going to be interesting to see which team can handle the fitness component of the game, and then also the discipline necessary to pick your moments when you're fatigued.
Meanwhile, for Cerritos, Hector Jimenez appearing in the game, and I think it's clear that Benny Arteaga seems to have the deeper bench. Falcons have been able to utilize more players, but they're down a player here after the red card in the second half to Becerra. So they'll have to battle uphill in that regard.
And they don't appear to be playing conservative. As soon as they have the ball and they're in possession, they're holding 2 in the back, and they're going to attack with 7. So they're just going to continue to play the way that they play. Instead of hold 2 and attack with 8, they're going to attack with 7.
Jimenez trying to win that one. It's over the end line, and we'll have a corner kick, I believe.
Hey, Coach, I have to imagine that fatigue is a big factor in the Cougar sideline. We talked about them looking gas at the end of regulation. Now we're in overtime, and Cerritos playing a man down. They look like they're playing with a leg.
Yep. When they have the ball and they're on the ball, they have very high energy.
Lob to the far post. It's in the box, and the one-timer is over the crossbar. Pretty good look
for
Cerritos.
That's a huge opportunity missed right there.
For Carrillo, taking that one on the hop.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I thought it was.
So the Cougars dodge a bullet early in overtime.
Just from appearance-wise, Mike was saying that it doesn't appear that Taft has quite the depth maybe that Cerritos does.
Tor gets it back. Coronado. And now it is Taft with the man advantage. A little more deliberate offense to set things up. Blocked at the point. Kept alive by Cervantes. He's still got it. Cervantes on the far side. The double team comes. The ball's out of play, but it will belong to Taft on the throw-in. Perez can't quite get the handle, and the Falcons clear it away.
Coach, the pace is decidedly deliberate here. Is this something where I think Taft probably knows that the coaching staff knows that they're very fatigued. They don't want to get out ahead of themselves. You talked about maybe them applying more pressure, numbers forward, but obviously even down a man, you have to be so wary of the counterattack from Cerritos.
Well, and you have to be wary of the counterattack, but you also have to be gosh darn confident when you go forward with those numbers that you're in possession of the ball. It can't just be an awkward just throw numbers, because as you said, Cerritos' pace and their ability to get behind you and beat you with technicality and with speed becomes a really big concern.
The ball played off Cabrera, so back to Cerritos.
And as we look at it, it looks like Taft is holding 4 players, so they're not putting as many numbers forward, and they're holding their back 3 plus an extra that's dropping in there now. So it's going to be a bit of a game of tactics, and it's going to come to be a game of will and who's going to have that big individual moment that changes the game.
Well, is there a sense in which, when you're talking about holding 4 back, is that a nod toward, if you're Taft, well, it's the one way we're going to get beat here is if we get an odd man rush because we're too far forward. So if we hold 4 back, that's extremely unlikely, and we still might be able to punch one in and finish it off here.
Yeah, I think what they do if they hold 4 or they hold more numbers back, they're trying to defend against that counterattack from Cerritos. But then what they're going to do is when they're in possession, then they'll bring numbers. So they just want to be darn sure that when they do send numbers forward, that they're in possession of the ball and they can create an opportunity.
Martinez starts a drive. Back out to Camacho. This is Jimenez. Jimenez working left, has that one poked away, and Perez has it for Taft. Trying to set up a counter. Here come the Cougars. Marino trying to get through and has that one poked away. Payeras with the steal.
Great split.
Back to Martinez, gets it back on the give and go. But can't get all the way through, and here comes a whistle. This will belong to Taft.
One thing for sure is if Taft does get through to the final on Sunday, they're gonna have some bruises on their ankles and shins from some of the physical play that Cerritos likes to dispose of the game.
And depending on what happens in our late game, they might get another South Coast school in the final that I think is going to give them a lot of the same treatment if they get Mount San Antonio College. Of course, the semifinal is Fresno City.
The intriguing matchups that could happen in the championship game, where you have really the intrigue would be Cerritos versus Mount Sac, or the complete opposite, Taft versus Fresno. You know, 2 teams, Taft and Fresno, played early in the year twice. I believe they were both 0-0 draws. So now, and they know each other incredibly well, and there's going to be straight up emotion in that, even if it was just a Sunday league match.
And the Taft player helped to his feet. It's Gonzalo Roland. Gonzalo, as we're calling him today.
Gonzalo Roland. Not Roland Gonzalo.
Though we are toying with the idea of going with the single name, since we've called him Gonzalo.
I like Roland. I'd probably just go the one.
Roland, there, yeah, we can bring that one back too.
You guys control the microphone, so you can call him whatever you want.
Sure.
Hey, listen, if the name catches on, we want some credit here.
Roland Gonzalo is going to have the game of his life.
Cougars will try to set something up. Tor on the near side.
Cerritos, terrific job taking away that Taft was trying to change the point of attack there, and they dropped their forwards in underneath that and took that away. If Taft can do that quicker, they can get Cerritos unbalanced, but they haven't been quick enough to change the point of attack.
Trying to find Martinez, and they do. Able to split the double team. Off the ref. Camacho trying to find an open man, and instead it's a turnover.
Flag's not up.
No, that's a good ball. That's the right ball. It's just not weighted right, or just you needed to swing that and draw that back a little bit. But that's the ball that they need to find. That space is exposed behind Cerritos on both sides, and you'll see a little bit of that with Mount Sac this afternoon.
And it looked like Magana either held up because he was afraid of the flag coming up, or is he tired? Maybe a combination of both.
Probably a combination of both, and maybe the fatigue sets in where when you're fatigued and you've lost some of that of alertness, blood sugar, glycogen levels are low, everything happens a little bit slower, decision making, etc.
We're in the 9th minute here in overtime number 1.
Jeff, you may have already talked about this, but Taft coming in, they have not lost a game since September 19th. To guess who? Cerritos.
Yeah, we talked about the 4-4-1 start, and then just a remarkable turnaround.
And you could
for
check
this Taft team.
You could check my guessing on that, but it's possible that Johnny Rodriguez did not play in that match against Cerritos.
For Fresno City?
For Fresno City, yeah.
Well, let's check the stats.
Meanwhile, the whistle on the far side and the ball going back to Taft.
No, Johnny did. He got a yellow card in that game, so he did play.
So he did play. Maybe it was their match against. Who did they draw with? Irvine Valley that same weekend? Was it
they
Irvine
also drew with. That was earlier in the season. They've tied twice this season with Fresno City. The most recently, that was on Halloween. Earlier in the season, September 29th, Johnny did not play.
That was it.
Ponce on the far side. Falcons maintaining control.
The interesting thing is all these teams have played each other with the exception, I believe, Fresno has not played Mount Sac this season.
And they're going to take care of that today.
Exactly.
Carvin's pass off the mark. Cougars want to set up a charge. With a lane off to Magana. Magana on the end line. Soft center, and that one over the crossbar. Marino had a good look, as we're going to take a look at the replay. And this is Magana there right on the end line, but able to get one across, and it ends up being Marino that has a terrific look, but launches it over the crossbar.
I got to tell you, Aldema was right there had the shot been on goal.
That's one of those balls where he gets the goalkeeper coming across the face of the goal, and it just needs to get redirected, just the way that Magana scored the goal earlier, redirected back in the direction the ball came from. And no matter how good your goalkeeper is, if you get it back on frame in that opposite direction, it's difficult for a goalkeeper to get back to that.
But to your point, Michael, I think you see Aldama in position there, and you see Marino just fire that one well over the crossbar. And did he maybe catch sight of Aldama and then feel that necessity to put a little more on that ball?
Absolutely. If your goalkeeper gets it, he's quick enough to get across. He does everything that he needs to do. And I talked to my goalkeepers about getting across the goal. Make yourself big, give yourself an opportunity to make a save, and then all of a sudden you put a little pressure on the striker.
Marino battling Jimenez, tries to leave it for Tor, and instead it is cleared back into the Taft zone. Cabrera will send it across. In the 12th minute, overtime number 1. Long pass again they want. This time it's Alexander Cabrera, but it's cleared out. Magana on the defense with the steal. Magana working the far side. And a nice job defensively marked there by Ponce. And Ponce able to win that one back for Cerritos.
And the game has really slowed down since we go back to the first half. It was played at a very frenetic, high-paced rate, and I think all the adrenaline and the emotion and the energy that they bring into the game, this can tend to happen. Such a high energy the first 30 minutes.
Two players on the pitch for Cerritos, number 7, Mark Calderon. And for Taft,
Calderon has returned for Cerritos. Meanwhile, Leo Hernandez checking back in for Taft. So we've been talking about Calderon, and now he's back on the field, and we'll see if that ultimately makes a difference. Centering ball sent back out. Perez able to clear. And Taft will come back.
Have to think his pace will make a difference at some level, and hopefully he's not carrying an injury and he can be as dynamic as he was early in the game for Cerritos' sake.
Yeah, Calderon will be working on the far side as the Falcons work it from left to right here in overtime number 1. – 14th minute. Tor over the center line.
The break felt long as that.
You see the Cougars content to be deliberate. And a foul called, and this one's going to give a free kick to Taft.
Now we'll see how tactically Taft decides to play this. They take, hey, this is one really good opportunity. Let's throw a lot of numbers forward. Especially since Cerritos has everybody behind the ball. I think it's an opportunity that Taft can take advantage here and put an extra body or two in the box and try and win the first ball, win the second ball.
Roll on. will have the kick. Magana right at the top of the box. Shaded toward the left side. Pooched into the box. It's loose in front. And Aldama able to just head that one away over the end line.
I don't know. I mean, I understand what he's thinking there, that it came off one of his own players, but if it's not intentional off the foot of a Cerritos player, he can just catch it. So a really odd decision from the goalkeeper to head that ball.
And it's going to set up a corner kick. And this is the situation that led to the goal for both teams, but obviously in this case, more to the point, the goal for Taft. Instead, it's a short kick out front and a one-timer sent over the crossbar. Tried to set up Hernandez from outside the box.
Shot over the crossbar.
Another substitution, Christian Perez returning
Checking in for the foul.
for Cerritos.
13, Christian
Of course, for those who might just be joining us, Cerritos a man down here in overtime after a red card in the second half.
Ironically, the first part of the overtime here, they don't even appear to be down a man. They've had a little bit of the ball and they've defended well. So their pace and their creativeness has served them well so far.
Into the Taft zone, and Perez with nobody home, but it's cleared out. Here is Calderon. Starts a move. Leaves it for Carvin. They'll work it across to Jimenez. Partially blocked at the point. And Taft able to win the ball. Perez sends it outside. We're in overtime number 1. Still tied at 1.
We see Fresno City for the women and San Diego Canyon warming up on the far side. Game 2 of 4 slated for later today.
Such a nice facility here, not only the playing surface and the facility we're in, but also being able to have those practice fields right next door so that if a game does go overtime, they don't have to delay things and they can get on and get straight into their match on time.
Well, I know we appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Camacho, meanwhile, lost the handle, and Taft gets it back. Touch pass from Tor, broken up and sent back. And Tor will try again. Hernandez has been used sparingly so far today. Coronado, marked by Carvin. Calderon, ahead to Perez. Perez starts a drive on Cabrera. Now a late whistle comes in. There was a little shove from Perez. And the ball goes back to Taft. And they're going to work quickly. This one sent in, but Aldama out aggressively.
Called them off sides. That was pretty close because he came in from behind right there.
So Magana with the offsides call.
Hey, David, what are the shots on goal for the game?
Shots on goal are up there.
4-4.
We have the shots on goal up at 4 all, but Falcons working at a man down disadvantage. Entered in from Martinez, and Garcia quickly up before Perez can get anything going.
Shots on goal aren't always the one thing that are definitive about who has more of a game or who doesn't. A lot of times we look at corner kicks, but look at, a lot of teams will have more shots in general, but they're just not on goal. So it's a sort of a deceiving stat that we look at in soccer. Some teams choose to take their opportunities more creatively or more selectively.
Yeah, the focus probably, in a lot of situations being on, maybe who's had the more quality shots.
Correct.
One-timer into the box, cleared away and sent out by Camacho.
Because the reality is there's not much difference in a ball that gets You could have 10 shots to go right at the goalkeeper that aren't very dangerous from 30 yards, or you could have 10 shots from the penalty spot that miss the bar or the post by an inch, and which one's more dangerous?
That should be the stat right there.
Yeah.
Shots in the penalty box, in the box, and to really tell the story maybe of who's getting the good looks. Meanwhile, we are through overtime number 1. We will set ourselves up here for overtime number 2. Still tied at 1 here in semifinal number 1. It's the 3C2A Men's and Women's Soccer Championships on SoCalCollegeSports.com. And we welcome you back to American River College. Overtime number 2 set to get underway. 1-1, Cerritos and Taft. The winner here advances to our final on Sunday, which we'll have for you here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Against the winner of the game later today, Fresno City and Mount San Antonio College. And of course, this is just the first of 4 games today on SoCalCollegeSports.com, as we will also have coverage of the women's semifinals and women's final on Sunday as well. In short, all 6 games.
Just subscribe to our channel, SoCal College Sports 1, and you can catch everything. You'll be notified of all of the upcoming events.
Taft in the white jerseys will work it from left to right here in overtime number 2. Cerritos in the blue, working from right to left. So Taft will kick off to start overtime number 2. And interesting, I think, Dave, as we look at Taft, really grabbed a huge measure of the momentum with the goal in the second half, but then it seems like that's dissipated just a little bit here. They've been decidedly non-aggressive, even with the man advantage.
I think some of the disruption in play, there were those long delays within the end of the second half with the red card and some of the discussion, and then that really long break between regulation and overtime, and it seems to sort of sucked the life out of them a little bit. Cerritos, even a couple of chances they had in the first overtime, they're dangerous. They're dangerous because of their pace and the quality of players that they have. And I think Taft needs to find a way to get things cranking here a little bit and take advantage of their man.
Long pass from Tor. Hernandez tracks it down, and it's knocked out of play. And I'll say this is off of Taft. So it'll be a throw-in for the Falcons. Falcons in control at midfield. Carvin trying to ward off Magana. Sends a long pass in. Martinez tracking it down with possession right of the box. Martinez lobs it into the box. The header sent back out by Taft, but not all the way.
And I think this is what Cerritos is going to look for. They're going to attack with about 5 players and just hope they can get one of their creative guys on the end of it and take advantage, because it seems that Cerritos now is holding numbers back a little bit more selectively, and they're either going to just hope for the best when they get a few players forward and get themselves to overtime.
This is Calderon facing up. Launches this one toward the goal, and Garcia with the play, and that was on point. Nearly snuck it in under the crossbar.
Not an intended shot, but a shot on goal, and that's where you have to have at least a player or two from Cerritos that wants to try and get on the end of it or disrupt it a little bit, but not even much of a challenge there.
Yeah, no one rushing the net. Tor with the long pass, looking for Magana. Magana tries to leave it for Perez, but it's knocked back out.
And I know we're in overtime, but we're late in the season, and these players should be at the most of their fitness, and then I'm not sure how they manage that, but both teams look really, really tired right now, and just a lot of long balls that don't have a lot of sort of hope on the end of them, and I think each team should just do what they like to do, which is possess the ball and combination play and try and get numbers into the attack as opposed to playing just aimless balls over the top.
Felix looking to thread one to Cabrera, but it's broken up, and the Falcons now again content to just send this one out. And now they'll have a throw-in from the near side in Taft territory.
Coach, when you talk about the long ball, can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on what you mean? And obviously, both these teams not really adept with the long ball, more so in terms of possession and control.
Yeah, and a long ball, in sometimes we say it in a negative term, which is sometimes a long ball is great. It releases pressure from your back four, or a long ball good in the sense that you see someone on the end of the long ball. What we're seeing now is a couple 3 balls that have been played that just where normally you see these both teams will take a ball down, they'll look to possess it and look to get forward with numbers as opposed to just playing a ball just to play a ball. So a little bit out of character, I think, for both programs.
Meanwhile, Lira and Calderon have switched sides on the wings for the Falcons. So Calderon now operating on the far side as they move Lira over on that particular throw-in. This one chipped forward and sent back out by Perez. And this is Calderon now working in the center. Drops it for Camacho.
Mike, this is a little more what I'm talking about. It's just, I think they can do that and be patient and attack with numbers and create better opportunities, which they're already doing right here.
Center from Jimenez is blocked at the point, and Sent back out, Tor. And eventually Taft clears.
That's a great ball by Roland.
Perez in a crowd warding off a defender and sent over the end line, and it's going to be a corner kick here for Cerritos. This is probably as good an opportunity as Cerritos has had in the last 20 minutes at least.
Terrific opportunity for Cerritos here, maybe even going, you say at least 20 minutes, maybe even longer since before the red card, so it might be pushing closer to 30 minutes.
Low centering, Perez couldn't quite get a boot on it, but it's kept in. Calderon from way out front, blocked in front and corralled by Garcia. th minute here of overtime number 2.
Man, this time goes by really quick in these overtimes. And
we were just talking. We think we should still do reserves.
Yeah, this one seems like it went by pretty fast.
Yeah, not a
long pass looking for Magana Cabrera in the area, and it's fanned outside by the Falcons and sent back out. Falcons trying to set up one more push. Perez has that one poked away from behind. Nothing coming on the counter for Taft. Perez with a little move. And now works it across. This is Calderon. Calderon holds up, and Falcons look to set something up here in the 12th minute. Carvin starts a move, launches from way out front, and that wide of the mark.
A little bit of impatience there, I think. All he has to do is, it's not really a dangerous place to think he's going to score from. I'd be really confident to do that, but I said it before, hold on to the ball, keep the ball in possession. Not only do you just keep the ball, and you take a little bit of time off the clock and reduce the opportunities that Taft's going to have going forward when you're sitting down a man. So Cerritos needs to stay calm and confident on the ball, and they can kill a couple birds with a single stone if they do that.
Well, they went down a man with time remaining in the second half, so they're working on 40 minutes or so here at least down a man, and they've done a good job to ward off Taft, and just a few minutes away from settling this one in penalty kicks. And of course, at that point, the teams will be even again.
Right. Two sides to it. I don't think Taft has done as good a job as they could have done playing up a man, but Cerritos has done a phenomenal job of defending with being down a man.
Yeah, I think especially in the overtimes, they seemed a little bit, I think you made the point, maybe a little bit out of sorts initially. Maybe still a bit of the emotion. But in the overtime, they have, I think, absolutely been able to give as good as they've gotten in terms of ball control.
I would agree. They killed off the last part of the regulation very, very well, got themselves to overtime reorganized. And, if someone just stepped in and watched this game, I don't know that they would look at it thinking that Cerritos was down a man. That hasn't appeared that way quite often.
Well, Cerritos, I don't know if they know how to lose. Undefeated on the season, 17-0-6. This is a team that has been there before.
They don't know how to lose in 2017, at least in the fall.
This season, anyway.
And they've been to penalties, so they know how to handle that, not only technically, but they also know how to handle it from an emotional standpoint. And so they've been there, and their goalkeeper, they've got a good athletic goalkeeper. So,
guys, a couple of years ago, Oxnard won a state championship here in the 3C2A. And it was a very emotional win for a school in Oxnard that had not had a soccer championship until that point. But the reason I bring that up is that they lost about 5 players due to red cards in a game where there was an altercation very late in the game, after the game, and a number of players missed a playoff game that they were still able to then win. And it provided sort of an emotional catalyst for the team where they really started to develop the sense that was their year of destiny, that they were meant to be the team. A rush here for the Falcons, and the ball cleared out as the Falcons still have it. Tor might have gotten away with a handball, and here's a call. Just to finish the point very quickly, and you wonder if Cerritos is able to survive here. They lost arguably their best player to a red card for the semifinal. Then they get a red card and survive potentially here to another one of their top players. Does that maybe have a similar sense where they start to think of themselves as like, hey, there's no stopping us this year?
I think that there's a word destiny. You start to, they think they're destined for that if they can get through this, and they've done a very good job so far to this point, and now they're going to have maybe the last opportunity of the match to take care of this. If they don't, they go to penalties, and if they do it, it's they bring their goal scorer back on Sunday. Not only is he back, but he's full of energy and adrenaline for that match as well.
Coach, going into penalty kicks potentially, you have to favor Cerritos. They've been there already this season, already in the playoffs, and momentum certainly seems to be in their favor as well.
Oh, no, I would agree. I think they've absorbed everything really, really well. They've got a good goalkeeper. They've been there, and I think Taft is thinking about last year. Like we lost in penalties last year.
Wow!
Terrific save from Garcia. The shot from Lira. And we'll take a look at the replay very quickly and get here from the angle. And you see Lira able to hook this one in, and what a job by Garcia, sprawling out.
Instead of trying to catch it, he just said, I'm going to take this clear and boxes it away. So he did a really nice job with this. And right now we are probably looking at maybe the last kick of overtime.
Lira, the left footer with the corner kick to the far side, batted around, and finally cleared, not all the way out. Calderon tries to keep it in. Carvin couldn't quite find the handle, and the Cougars emerge. Nice job keeping that one in. Ponce with a terrific play, and another rush coming, and this one cleared out again on the centering pass.
Well defended by Taft.
Watch counter.
At the center line, and now the Cougars forced to slow it down. They'll go for the long pass looking for Magana again, and Magana not able to track that one down. Instead, it's Perez who will clear it away on the far side, and we'll have a throw-in as we move toward extra time here in overtime number 2.
I'm not sure where all the extra time is coming from in this 15. I don't remember.
I'm not sure where they, on the clock, incidentally, that they reset the clock, because we're listing here as the 17th minute, and I think they might not have taken the 5 minutes off. So I'll try to get the exact time. Meanwhile, right. here's a whistle and a foul call.
I think you're right. I think we're probably in the 12th minute, which would be like the 118th minute.
So just to update on the official time, we are in the 12th minute.
Yeah, so we're in the 117th or 118th minute of the match. So we were talking about how we thought it went by pretty quick, but
yeah, we're solving the little mystery of why it felt like time was going quickly.
Bonus time.
Meanwhile, we have a Falcon player down on the last rush.
Coach, this looks like cramping here.
Very possible at this point, especially if you have a player that's played the majority of the minutes.
Is that Garcia? No.
Did you get a number?
Maybe Perez.
Is that 20?
13.
Well, if it is Christian Perez, or, okay, 20 is Jose Rivera. I was going to say if it was Christian Perez, he has played a lot of minutes here in the game, and it would make sense.
Rivera. This is number 20.
Okay, so it's Rivera who came off the bench and to his feet and able to walk off.
Maybe tweaked an ankle or something like that.
It'll be a free kick for Cerritos. And they'll set up Lira again, and Lira with a huge shot just a couple of minutes ago. Garcia did a great job just to block it over the crossbar.
Man, it's a beautiful day, so it's not, we're not talking about hot weather, we're not talking about cold weather. This is about as good as it gets as far as weather.
Yeah, and last time out there, flashed a pretty good boot.
So Calderon on the far side. Lira lobs it into the box. Carvin keeps it in, but can't one-time it on net.
Coach, I think Carvin was deliberately trying to go and initiate a handball.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was trying to do, but I was just going to say that he's been on the end of He's been on the end of 3 or 4 knockdown balls here in the 2 in overtime just now, where he's not had clear looks at it, but he's smart enough to know that he's not going to win a ball. He doesn't watch it. He tries to drop himself into a position that he can win the second ball and create a half chance on goal, which he's done twice now.
It was, I believe, 98 World Cup, Roberto Baggio initiating a handball when he had somebody with their hands down at their sides.
Magana looking for Cabrera, but it's cleared away by Payeras for Cerritos.
Yeah, if you can't get a shot on goal and a guy's hands are up, are you deft enough that you can play it off of their hand?
Get the hands.
Perez working against Tor, and it's Perez who's able to keep the ball, and we'll have another free kick as Perez goes down.
Dangerous player.
Yeah.
He's been very good.
Well, Cerritos not milking the calls, and I think they're getting more of them now because they're not doing that. They are milking the time they are getting to recover, so that the way they can get their players forward and make a push.
I think that's the smart thing to do. You get the call, you know you have an opportunity. You're not going to have many more of them, and you don't want to let Taft have any opportunities. So delay it, kill the game a little bit, take this last opportunity, and if you don't get it, we go to overtime, or we go to penalties.
There sends it in. The header is wide.
Wow.
Header wide left.
Linesman's calling. He saw the linesman's overruling.
See, the replay here was their contact.
And this will be a corner kick.
Yeah.
Payeras.
This will maybe the last kick of the game, last play of the game, unless he gives him another one here.
Tries the short side, and it's sent out of play.
He's going to give him another corner kick.
This is Eric Payeras, Carlos Payeras, with the goal in the first half. The tally for Cerritos, and now they'll change things up, and they'll bring in Lira to handle the corner kick. Lira, top of the box, cleared outside. Rodriguez will keep it in for the Falcons. His pass off the mark, sent back out. Rodriguez battling Coronado, and he wins the ball. Rodriguez moving left. Able to get a roller on goal, but easy save for Garcia.
Referee's looking at his watch. Surprised he hasn't blown it here, but it's going to happen pretty quick.
Long pass. Cabrera back there, but it's cleared out, kept in by Magana.
Whistle's coming.
And now launched. Back in the direction of Perez, who can't quite corral it. Instead, Taft will win it out to Tor. Roll on. One last push. Magana on the long pass. No offsides. Near the end line and out of play. So belong to Cerritos.
Quite frankly, down a man, Cerritos has been a better team in overtime. I think they've been.
Yeah, you would think it was exactly the other way around, based on time of possession and ultimately quality looks.
Tactically very smart. Took time to kill things when they could kill things in a very smart way to do it. Some gamesmanship, and then have had good opportunities.
Lira one times it.
Cerritos is smart here. They'd step everybody in, maybe get one more chance.
Tor gives chase, clears it back out toward the center line. And the whistle comes in. Is that?
Penalty kicks.
Okay, we move to penalty kicks then. And as you talked about, Cerritos obviously undefeated on the season, so the penalty kicks have gone well, but they're also coming off their last game. They went to penalty kicks and won that one 3-2.
Right. They're going to feel confident. They've done it. They have them. I'm sure they already have their lineup sorted. They got on the field who they wanted to get on the field to take their penalties. They are missing a couple players who might otherwise take them, with Garcia, who didn't play today because he was sent off previously, and then was it Becerra, who was sent off in this game? Either of them, if they were taking penalties in the first 5, will be taking it. But they have to be confident enough that since they've done it before, the mentality is that they can take care of it again.
And again, the winner here advances to the final. Take on the winner of Fresno City and Mount San Antonio College. And is there any thought from a coaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint, prefer to go first, last?
Yeah, I would almost always want to go first, because if you go first, you score first, you put pressure on the other team. I think that has to be the mentality from a confidence standpoint, that, you know, in our belief, and my belief, is that you put your best penalty taker first, because you don't want to get behind the 8 ball as soon as penalties start. So get the first one.
Yeah, I think ultimately, too, it's, you know, there's, no matter what happens, there's a lot of pressure going last. Even if you have the advantage, you know, where a goalie makes a save and you're in a situation, now you're feeling, I imagine, a different kind of pressure where it's like, well, now I really got to take advantage of this. I'm feeling a lot of pressure here, like I need to convert.
Absolutely.
Even going second.
If you take your first kick, and even if you miss it, you're like, okay, my goalkeeper's got 5 chances to make up for the one that I missed. And
yeah.
So it's put you on the front foot, and if you get to be on the front foot immediately, then it's a good situation. Not to say that we haven't seen it won from the other side, where you don't take your first kick and you end up losing. So it's not an easy situation, but at a certain point you have to decide a match.
I'm not sure that I can think of a more, I mean, there are, but it's one of the most nerve-wracking situations, portions of any sporting contest, and we cover quite a few here, but this is sweaty palms territory. Even just watching, it's a lot of pressure.
It's very nerve-wracking. You get to the point, really, you've played 120 minutes of a tied match. It's really a tie. It goes down in the record book as a tie. The penalty kicks are used just to advance a team, and the reality is at the end of the day, all these kids that are going to step up and take a penalty have the ability to hit a ball with pace and hit it in the corner. It's really a matter of who's practicing, who's confident. And I think the biggest thing is confidence. Confidence as a goalkeeper to stick to your guns. What are your guns? Do you react and go? Do you guess and go? Do you use guesstimation and go? Whatever it is. And as a player, you have to be confident that I'm going to step up, and you visualized putting this ball where you've hopefully put it 100 times before.
Hey, Mike, how about this for an idea for penalty kicks in basketball? If you're tied at the end of regulation, each person just takes a chance going one-on-one with the other team's best defender, and whoever scores.
I like that.
Whoever scores the most out of the 5 times.
It's a 10-second
possession. Very nerve-wracking.
10-second possession.
Yeah, do you get a minimum dribble?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You got to get a shot off in 10 seconds.
You get 3 dribbles?
10-second shot clock.
I saw
put Draymond
footage.
Green on defense, and, you know.
I saw footage of Kevin Durant, James Harden, Paul George when they were Team USA going at it one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the shots they're hitting are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they're not bad defenders.
Yeah.
As much flack as James Harden might get, it was pretty special.
Looking at penalty kicks, one thing, it's interesting, it's this long break, and there's not like, I don't understand the need for a long break, because as a coach, you've already established your penalty kick, your penalty kick rotation. You know how to do it. I understand they go flip the coin, which they did 4 or 5 minutes ago. The reality is, they should just call it quite a wait.
And if you're a goalkeeper, do you almost want to go right to it? You know, in that situation where it's like, you know.
I don't want to wait. I mean, I used to be a goalkeeper, and I've been in this situation. Like, I just finished playing. Let's go. Let's go straight to the goal. And as a goalkeeper, to be honest with you, I wanted to be the first in goal. I didn't want to be the second one in goal, because I wanted to have the confidence that I'm going to step in and I'm going to make the first save.
Yep.
Like the first shooter stepping in and saying, I'm going to make the first PK.
So talk to us a little bit here, as we've got a little time here before we go. What's the goal? What's the mindset if you're taking the penalty shot? And then talk a little bit about what is the goalkeeper you're trying to do and what you're looking to do.
I think the mindset is and you will see players that will sort of change their mind because they see the goalkeeper start to lean or go the other way. I think as the striker, you have to know which way that you go, which way you prefer it, and you have to be confident no matter what the goalkeeper does, that your ball with pace and placed well is going to go in the goal.
Yeah, if you're the player and you feel like if you strike your ball perfectly, even if the goalie gets right, you should be able to still ultimately get it in.
Yeah, and you know there are goalkeepers that are bigger or rangier that might be able to handle that. But as a goalkeeper, I think you just have to be. don't feel any pressure because really the pressure shouldn't be on you as a goalkeeper.
First one from Tor. So Tor converts.
Last year in penalties, I remember watching it, listening to you guys. I wasn't able to get down to Ventura, and I believe it was the Taft goalkeeper made a save, and he stepped up to take the next PK. And, and my partner in crime, Marty Kinahan, who's the head coach, we were actually texting each other, and he texted me, and I was about to text him. He goes, he shouldn't take it. He shouldn't take it because the adrenaline you gain as a goalkeeper from making a save to be able to step up and try and calm yourself. And he hit a bomb over the crossbar.
That's exactly what it was. He really launched it. Unfortunately, after he played such a beautiful game and then made such a huge save.
And it's too bad because a phenomenal goalkeeper who played a terrific game and had a terrific season for Taft last year.
This is Carvin for Cerritos. And there's the block. Garcia comes up huge as Carvin tries to sneak that in on the post on the left side.
And that ball was, the goalkeeper guessed early. He guessed the right direction, but also in terms of where the ball was played between the players' knees and the goalkeeper's knees and their shoulders. It's the easiest ball to save as a goalkeeper.
So a huge moment early, and it's 1-0. And this, of course, is best of 5. And now Aldama is going to need to come up with something huge, as it's Christian Cabrera. For Taft, sneaks that one in under the crossbar. And now it goes back. It's eerily similar to the beginning of the game when Cerritos took the 1-0 lead, and you had the feeling that now, Taft was really on their last thread. They certainly couldn't afford to fall behind 2-0.
Correct.
In the game. And it's a similar situation here. Boy, if Garcia could come up with another huge save here, it's a monumental lead.
And those are two really well-taken penalties by Taft, hit high above the shoulder. It's a really difficult ball to save from the goalkeeper, even if it's not in the corner.
And this is Esteban Camacho. The approach, and he puts it in. So that keeps the Falcons alive here at 2-1.
And if you look at both of the goalkeepers, at this point it appears they're both making, either they're just guessing or they're making estimated guesses because they're both leaving a little early and they're being committed to the way that they go.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about from the goaltender's standpoint, but obviously that's with so little time, they have to make a guess. Is that fair to say? As this is Cabrera?
Yeah, and you can see there that they're picking a side and they're just committing to it, which is one tactic. I think one of the best goalkeepers that we have in the United States dealing with penalties is a kid named Zach Steffen, who's he's only 21, 22 years old. He's playing for Columbus Crew, played for the University of Maryland, and he has become one of the best penalty kicks savers that I've ever seen. And it appears that he does it all on reaction. He is that quick, and he is incredibly good.
Well, you wonder at some level too if that's less common, as the next kick will be taken by Christian Perez.
Yeah, much less common to just.
If that's a little unsettling for the other kicker to not see the goalie leaning. And there's the save.
Wow.
Garcia blocks Perez, and now it's 3-1, and now one more.
And
Cerritos is out of time.
He was leaning left, going early, and that's where the player just had committed to that side and couldn't change it mid-stride. And we have our goalkeeper, the Taft goalkeeper, taking a kick again this year.
As we'll take one look at the replay here, and that's obviously Garcia just guessing right, and now it's Garcia with a chance here to put it away.
Eerily similar to last year, but little different situation. They have a little cushion right now, though, right?
Can Garcia finish it off against Aldama? He's got it.
That's the end.
What a job by Taft. They trailed it 1-0 early, and they survive. They get the equalizer in the second half. And then with a man advantage, Cerritos takes it to overtime and ultimately gets it to penalty kicks. But Taft, perfect, 4 for 4. They close it out 4-1 on penalty kicks. And you look at the Falcons on the field, and I think it's obviously a perfect combination of disappointment and disbelief. I mean, this is a team that was undefeated all year, and they came up here and they had to be very confident and, heading home here short of their goal, no doubt, to win the championship.
Well, it's polar opposites, and there's nothing that the coaches from Cerritos can say to their players that are going to make them feel better in the moment. And Taft has to do, well, they did what they had to do. Very well taken penalties by all of them, and now they have to do everything they can possibly do to get back and to recover and take care of their guys. So whoever they play on Sunday, they can take care of that.
Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining us, and we will look forward to having you join us here. Hopefully, we know we'll be back for the men's game at 4 o'clock, and obviously really appreciate that. Again, let's remind everybody listening that we'll have every game for you. We will have Game 2 for you coming up. Fresno City and Santiago Canyon on the women's side. All 6 games this weekend can be found on our website, www.socalcollegesports.com, or you can search for our channel, SoCal College Sports 1, on YouTube, and we look forward to having you with us all weekend long here from American River. We will rejoin you for Game 2 coming up here in just a bit. For everybody here at SoCalCollegeSports.com, once again, it is Taft moving on in penalty kicks. They will reach the men's final on Sunday morning. For everybody here at SoCalCollegeSports.com, I'm Jeff Stoinoff. So long, everybody.